what's the number? Episode
100.
No, 124, I think. We got some special guests in. Our first guest is Billie Winner-Davis, is the mom of Reality Winner. Reality Winner is currently in prison, supposedly for leaking a top secret document about Russian interference in the U.S. elections. Our second guest is Kevin Gostola. He's the managing editor of Shadowproof Calm, and he's the co-host of the weekly podcast Unauthorized This. Well, I'm sure many of the listeners don't really know what the entire situation is about. So I want to ask you, Billy, to explain a bit about the situation of Reality Winner.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me on. Reality is my daughter, and she's a 26-year-old. She is a United States Air Force vet. She served 6 years in the Air Force right out of high school. She was a cryptolinguist with the Air Force, and she learned Farsi, Dari, and Pashto, and did her time. After her service in the Air Force, Reality took a job with one of the contract agencies and worked at Fort Gordon in Augusta, Georgia, with the NSA there. In May of 2016, Reality sent a document that she came across in her work to the Intercept, and she was arrested on June 3rd for that. The document was basically a document of intel information that outlined the efforts of the Russians to hack into our election systems in some of our states. And so we've basically been fighting this battle with Reality. And she is currently in jail. She is waiting to be transferred to a federal prison, but she hasn't gotten there yet. She is being bussed around and flown around to different county facilities, and we're just hoping that she ends up here in Texas. Reality did plead guilty to the one charge against her for the willful retention and submission of national security information, and she was sentenced to 5.25 years in prison, with then a 3-year supervised release term after that. Her sentence is the longest sentence ever for someone who has been who's been found guilty of this kind of a charge.
I mean, first of all, I have to say thank you. I mean, I think you were extremely modest in the time that she was in the Air Force. I'm also an Air Force veteran. So, I mean, the things that she accomplished while in the military were absolutely stellar. I mean, unfortunately, the things that the patriotism that she showed, right? The things that she showed now are now common knowledge throughout America, right? It's a whole conversation about Russian hacking and the safety of our election system and all of that. And a lot of that hinges off of the sacrifice she made. And I think that's real important to bring to light here. I mean, her record specifically, as we're looking here, Air Force Commendation Medal, that is not they do not hand out that medal to everyone. 650 enemies captured, 600 enemies killed in action, and 900 high-value targets that is attributed to her career alone. When it comes to being like a true patriot, she exemplifies that. It's unfortunate that our government has treated her like this for exposing something that needed to be exposed.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you for your service, first of all, and then also for bringing that information forward. And really what the government did in her entire case is they used all of her information against her. The fact that she was trained in all of these languages, they made her seem like she was a terrorist, like she wanted to go and join the Taliban. Reality was extremely serious about her work in the Air Force and in her contract work. And so, yes, she did a lot of studying. She studied about their religion. She studied about their culture. She studied about the Taliban. She was by no means was she ever an ISIS sympathizer, but the government really painted that picture of her, which was wrong. And because of that, she also is the only person who has gone through something like this and was denied bail the entire time. Reality has been incarcerated since the date of her arrest, June 3rd, 2016, or 2017, I'm sorry. And that's another remarkable feature about her case, is they painted her as this villain and this terrorist and never let her out of jail.
Well, even the way that they oh well, she posted in support of Bernie Sanders. What person in our age group did not support Bernie Sanders? You know, it's such an arbitrary thing to put in there, but then they touted it as making it, you know, a huge offense to the government by somehow supporting Bernie Sanders, or not supporting something that the Orangeführer said recently. It was just completely ludicrous, the things that they tried to show on the media when describing her, which in any other situation most of us see as pretty positive things. You know, I normally don't associate with a lot of people that don't at least support the mindset of Bernie Sanders. That's actually the people that I would like working in organizations like the NSA.
Exactly right. They use so much of everyday things against her. Some of the things that people might not know who weren't there in the court is the fact that she knew how to change a SIM card in her cell phone made her, sinister to them. The fact that she took a weekend and traveled to Belize by herself was something that they found totally like uncharacteristic of anyone, in today's age. They use so many things that, by itself, it means nothing, but they tried to package this, and yes, they turned a lot of people against her. And the media did that as well. When this first broke, the media, they were all over her Twitter pages, her Facebook pages, and she was expressing herself just like anyone else was expressing themselves at that time and even now. But they used that against her, and to me it was wrong, because that shouldn't have denied her bail, but really that's what denied her bail.
Her job got used against her, right? Sorry, John.
No, I know. Just here real quick. I saw you uploaded a picture earlier today of a conversation you had with her. I mean, considering she's been incarcerated now, how is she feeling right now? Was she doing okay?
Well, it's been a rough ride. She was in a very small county jail in Lincolnton, Georgia, which is very rural, very small. And she was there for about 60 months. And she had some difficulties in getting her needs met. Reality is vegan, and she's diagnosed with bulimia. She's diagnosed with depression. And that county jail was not set up to meet her needs. And so they never did fully meet her need for fresh fruits and vegetables. And so her health deteriorated. And of course, when your health deteriorates, then your depression symptoms worsen. And so she's had a rough time. The things that we post her, smiling. If you've ever gotten a piece of mail from Reality, it's going to be something very uplifting, because that's who she is. And she always tries to make the best out of every situation that she's in. This last facility, the facility that she's in right now, she just got moved there 2 days ago, and it's another county facility. It's an overflow facility for the transport center there in Oklahoma. And I mean, she basically described it to me as that this is rock bottom. She is in a warehouse type facility with 80 other women in just one central room. And she described it to me as just filthy. But if you can see, the picture that I posted is, she's glowing, she's beaming, because that's who she is. She's always going to find a way to survive in those environments.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm familiar with being in those kind of situations. They kind of do that when you're in the Bureau of Prisons or in a county jail.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I've seen it described as diesel therapy. Described it as diesel therapy, and they posted an article, from a prison blog, and how they move them around, they bus them around. To me, it's like they're keeping them docile. They're keeping them afraid, insecure. They're grateful for any little thing that they get, and they're basically turning them into sheep.
Psychological warfare or torture. So it's something you can't prove that's happening to them.
How many facilities has she been in since she's been arrested?
This is her third.
Yeah,
She was she was there in Lincolnton for the longest time, and then she got transferred to Baker County in McClenny, Florida, and that's actually a county detention center and an ICE facility. And they held her there for 2 weeks, and the first week that she was there, they put her in isolation. So she was in solitary confinement with nothing for the first week. When she met with the officials at the jail to ask them why she couldn't be released into general population, they basically told her that they felt like she was high profile and they were doing it for her own safety. But then they did make the decision to move her to the general population, and so that was a lot better for her.
Doing it for her own safety, that magic word, that's what they always get us with you, doing it for your safety, your protection.
Right. And so I just have to imagine myself, in a small room, no human contact, no TV, no music, no books, nothing. I mean, for an entire, she didn't do anything to deserve that. That's for sure.
Well, I don't want to mince words here, but I think it's pretty obvious a lot of the things that they're doing are vindictive, are doing to punish her for speaking out. I think that's pretty obvious. Like I said, I don't want to put ideas or any of that, but I think it's pretty obvious that they're trying to make a point. Look, if you speak out or if you say something and don't ask us first, these are the repercussions. These are the things that we'll do to you.
Right. And I mean, and there's other examples of how she was treated when she was at Lincolnton, the things that were happening to her. All of her mail was being scanned by either the NSA or the FBI, and so there would be these huge delays in her mail. One time, she went without mail for 21 days, and all of the mail, incoming and outgoing, was being scanned and used against her. The meals, that situation, she was also denied visits by people who were on her visitation list. She was the only inmate there who was required to have a visitation list. And then a friend of ours came in from Colorado and was on the visitation list for months, but they denied the visit. And there was nothing that we could do about that.
Could you think of any reason, or what is the main reason for a reality to accept the plea deal?
Yeah, particularly, I think she and her team ran out of ways to defend her. If you look at her legal case, basically the court was ruling against them at every single turn. Her being denied bail also played a big part in that she wasn't able to work with her defense team on her defense. And to work with her, she would have to be transported to the courthouse in Augusta, which was like a 50-minute ride. She would have to be shackled. She'd have to be strip searched. Every time that she would leave the skiff, they would strip search her. It was so degrading for her that she didn't want to go. Can you imagine being treated like that? And then her team, one of the big things I know that it was reported on was that they had issued 41 subpoenas, and some of those were to other agencies. Basically, what her team was trying to do was to show that the information that Reality leaked was out there in different forms. And so they subpoenaed like the 21 states that had been hacked into. They subpoenaed other government agencies that had information that was contained in the very document that Reality leaked. And the court denied them 40 out of 41 subpoenas. I mean, they weren't even allowed to put on a defense. And so after that happened, it's kind of like, what do we do here? And so, you know, her back was up against the wall, and she knew that she was facing 10 years because the government also made it clear that they were going to seek the full 10 years on her for one count. For one count, they were going to seek the full 10 years for her. So it was either she pled guilty or she was facing the very worst outcome.
Yeah, and they
Go ahead, John.
they used the Espionage Act to prosecute her, and so these free speech advocates, and including the ACLU, they said the use of the Espionage Act to prosecute her is like an opening salvo in this new administration war against whistleblowers. How do you feel about this?
Oh, absolutely. The use of the Espionage Act basically also made it impossible for them to defend themselves, because using that, like, let's say that she had gone to a jury trial, the jury would have never seen the actual document that she was alleged to have released at that point. There was no way that they could even bring in a motive. You know, there's just, in the Espionage Act, it's cut and dried. It's it basically strips you of your a right to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm.
No due process, no sui juris or anything.
I mean, it isn't. I mean, let's be honest. It isn't a real justice system. It's not reality at all. You know, when you've got read that they're going to punish you. You know, the from the judges word are already not on your side, and that's not what justice is supposed to be, right? Blind justice, you're innocent until proven guilty, all of that. They've all decided, hey, we're going to give her this much and punish her for this action, regardless of what any court dances that you do.
Right. Yeah. We have to remember that Reality was the very first one under the Trump administration, and remember that he and, you know, James Comey both were out there stating that they were going to catch the leakers, and they were going to make an example out of the very first one.
Yeah, so it's really to scare others into doing the same thing. Then that is
Right. Yeah, and that's something significant as well in her sentencing. If you read the recommendation from the government and you read the court, the judge and the government didn't feel like Reality's crime actually, you know, was worthy of this type of a sentence, but they wanted to make sure that they made her sentence a deterrent for anyone else. I mean, that was clearly stated.
He did immediately, when he was relieved from office, immediately did come out on national news,
leak information. Am I wrong in that?
Can you repeat that?
Right away, Comey, the head of the FBI, when he left office, he immediately went to was it CNN and leaked information like right away.
Right. Yes.
There's no,
Yes.
I mean, he leaked it in a book, and this is classified. This is classified information that he let loose in retaliation to the Trump administration, and yet he receives no, nothing close, not even a slap on the wrist. It's not
Right.
even a comparison.
Exactly.
You
And I have to look at Petraeus, General Petraeus. Look at all of the information that he released for personal gain, and that put our troops in danger, and actually, did some harm. But yet he got probation.
Do you think the timing at which she released the information had a big play because all of this was going on and the Russian interrogation and the election was coming up? Do you think that had a big part into her sentencing and why they just threw the Espionage Act at her when they could have used another charge?
Yes, absolutely, it did. I believe that. Remember, she released this information on May 11th of 2017. So that was 2 days after the firing of Comey, and that was the day after President Trump was in the Oval Office bragging that he had gotten rid of Comey and that he had gotten rid of the Russia cloud. He had gotten rid of the whole Russia investigation. So then you have reality. She mails this document to the Intercept that has the proof right there. And so there was no way for them to say that this didn't happen.
The Intercept has not had a good track record at helping whistleblowers at all. That's just unfortunate that happened to her. That's for sure.
I think there would be people on the Democratic side that would be bending over
Terrence, you got to get closer to your microphone.
You'd think there would be people on the Democratic side that would be bending over backwards to help her. Being that their entire talking point revolves around the Russia involvement into our into our voting system.
I would think so too, especially since the Senate Intel Committee actually used the document that she leaked for the purpose of their investigation and their findings about the Russia investigation. You would think that then, they would at least then acknowledge that she did a service. But no, that hasn't happened. That hasn't happened at all.
Well,
even
if they don't.
No, the reason they do the Espionage Act is because she was still working. She wasn't in the military, but she was still working for a contractor, correct?
Right.
At the time,
yes.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be, protections for people that are whistleblowers, but they specifically wrote into the laws so that they have these little loopholes that if you're in a place that has information like this, where something that really the American people do need to know, you're not able to come out and say it.
Right.
Well, the other thing I would think is it had to be the contents of. Do you know the contents of what was leaked, or is that classified? That would be another reason they would go for the maximum punishment and so forth.
Well, and
Yeah.
Hey, Terrence, you gotta get closer to your microphone. It sounds muffled. You there?
I don't know.
Much better.
Yeah, as she was saying in the defense, the information that she had, that's the point. Multiple government agencies had this information. They should have been coming out and screaming about it right away when the election was going on.
Exactly. And the Senate Intel Committee actually, reprimanded those agencies for not bringing this forward. They said there was a, they had the responsibility to do this and they failed us. So here you have Reality Winner, who just believes that this needs to be out there, and so she does it, and she's going to spend 5 years in prison for that.
Well, not just that she believed that it would be out there, but at the end of the day, she was right. Like, I mean, I think that's can't look over. Like, she was 100% correct that it did need to be out there. It did need to be exposed. The people did need to know about it, and they're trying to do something about it and expose it. There's Russian involvement and all sorts of stuff that they're indicting people for, and at the end of the day, I feel that she was 100% right.
Right. Yeah.
Now, what
Okay,
does she have any other history of being an activist? What might have motivated her to do this? She had to know that there was the potential of getting in quite a bit of trouble, doing something like this.
Yeah, I'm sure that she knew, because her 6 years in the Air Force, she knew what the laws were as far as keeping the information safeguarded, and she knew that. The only other activism type of thing that she was involved with was she did go and meet with the senator there in Georgia, and was working with the senator's office to make sure that they had information they needed with regard to the pipeline and with regard to global warming and climate change. She was really trying to do things the right way. And, but I just think with this document, what was going on at that moment in time, I think that she just felt like somebody needed to let the American people know that what they were trying to cover up was real.
So to talk a little about other whistleblowers, Julian Assange actually expressed his support for Reality before, and he said she's a young woman against the wall for talking to the press. But he also offered a $10,000 reward for information about a reporter who worked for The Intercept, who allegedly helped the U.S. government identify Reality as the leaker.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know about his $10,000 reward.
Yeah, apparently he did offer this award, and he literally said, "A winner is no clapper or betrayers with elite immunity. She's a young woman against the wall for talking to the press."
Right. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. So it remains unclear how the government was first tipped off to the leak, but an FBI agent, he would later testify about interviewing a witness in Tampa, Florida, who was approached by an Intercept reporter attempting to authenticate the document.
Right.
So,
You know what I was kind of baffled? Didn't they identify the document that she had printed by? I didn't even know this was a thing, by machine identification on the copy. That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
There was only 5 copies of this specific document made, and each copy has a specific identification number that goes along with it. So you can tell not only how many printed, but also at what time roughly they were printed, and that can match up with other information as well.
Somebody had to program that, right? That's the crazy part. That's what baffles me.
Right. So, and I know that Reality, it just goes to show that she's not criminal-minded. She didn't take steps to protect herself. She just basically folded the document in half and put it in her tights, walked out, and put it in an envelope and mailed it. She didn't take any steps whatsoever to protect herself. She mailed it from the same city that she was working, the same city that she lived in. So, I mean, she's not criminal-minded.
No, and I don't think that in reality, I don't think that anybody really feels that way outside of the government agencies that that really that she made look as corrupt as they actually are? You know,
No, and you have the feeling that the media, like the Intercept, will be like on your side, and they will be like, ready to like publish the truth and fight for you too. But turns out that the story is entirely different.
well, that's kind of why I posted the code in the comments there. I really, it has to do with a little bit of selflessness. You know, those are attributes of a patriot. You know, look, in one way or another, you know, I mean, to be honest, she knows all of the fail safes that they have there to track information. You know, so I mean, at some point, once you know, the point was to get the document out to the people. Once that happened, you kind of knew that they were gonna, you know about it.
Yeah, but if the Russians would actually like be hacking into the U.S. elections, she would actually be doing a great favor to the United States for exposing this information. I mean, she's not like betraying her country or whatever. I mean, she's
No,
actually.
She did, and like I was kind of making the point before, they should have acted on this way ahead of time, like way ahead of time. You know, it's already in document format by that point. You know, the investigation's already been done. You can prove that multiple organizations knew about this, knew about what they were doing, and for one reason or another, you know, I don't pretend to know why they wouldn't warn us or tell us or expose it, but they didn't.
Well, because the official story is that there was no meddling. In addition to you know, there was no collusion, and then there was no meddling in the election at the same time. That's the official story. So, what was the content of this leak? Is what I'd like to know. What does it show?
I'm not an expert in the actual document itself, and I just glanced at it one time. But basically, it's just a summary of intel information with regard to them sending these phishing emails to the different election sites.
Okay.
We were also kind of surprised in that when, on the day that she changed her plea agreement, the FBI agent testified, and it was the one and only time in this entire case that anybody has ever indicated that there were attachments to the document. So, and that to me, they had never mentioned that before ever.
So there's more information that's out there. Yeah.
Well, I guess the other side, you know, has the Intercept, you know, actually put out what was in that document? Are they holding something back? I mean, did everything that she sent them get leaked out so that we would know, or is there still something missing?
I don't know.
There seems to be, you know, in my mind, seems to be a missing piece of the puzzle, because it's like you know, I see every piece of it except like what the contents were or why it's so.
Well, the details, there was a schematic drawing of like the details of how they were doing it, but it's kind of not, it's not like really detailed. It's kind of like a Venn diagram kind of explaining how they were doing it, but it really wasn't like technically detailed. Terrence? Do we lose him? Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the phishing thing is like a very common method to do it. They do this and like they send mass phishing mails to like all the members, and there will always be a few who like click on these things to like fill in their information. That's like
what was the nature of the interference? Well, you know, the meddling and the interference. I just how much electioneering was going on.
Okay, well,
the question I would have.
Yeah, there doesn't have like to be like an a proof of it actually having succeeded, but like you can already show that they're actually doing it. They're attempting it by sending phishing mails. So that's already something too. They're attempting to meddle in elections. So.
Well, and it's something that's okay. Look, all of the big powers of the world meddle in each other's elections. We actively are trying to undermine situations in Venezuela, and an already horrible situation. So it's like this is some sort of unheard of, spy mastermind. This is what Russia and America do. This is what we do. We put 100,000 protesters on the ground in Moscow.
Yeah, well, her taking it to like the Intercept or like a media, it was actually the wisest thing to do. I mean, she could have released it herself, and that would be like an entirely different story.
I think it would have been covered up quickly. Like there was no other. If the information was going to get out, there was no other option. And from what I see, I don't think that she saw any other option either.
Right.
When you look at a system that's already covering up a foreign government's involvement in your election system for whatever reason, right? You can't go through that same corrupt organization to get information out. They already know about it.
They already know about it.
Yeah.
Like that's
exactly. That's what I ask myself all the time: is who was she going to tell? Who was she going to go to? Because the people that she would go to already know it, and they're the ones who are covering it up. So what was she supposed to do? And then, we talked about the Espionage Act, and, the point here is that when the government did charge her with espionage, people see her as a traitor to her country, but that is not what she did. That is not what she did.
Well, I would argue that the corporate media sees her as a traitor. I would argue that the people that are watching our show, us personally, do not see her in that light at all. Like I said, kind of in the beginning, she's exactly the kind of person that we want working at the NSA. That have the people's best interests in mind.
Yeah.
So go to CNN if you put the puppets. They paint Adrian Assange. They paint reality. They paint anybody that's speaking out as being some sort of menace. But in actuality, the people down here, we all see them as being heroes, as doing what needed to be done, even though it's been a hard road for doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So she agreed to like a plea deal. Are there any special terms to her when she gets released? Are there any special terms? Do you know anything about this?
I know when she gets released, she will have to do a 3-year supervised term where she'll have to report in. She is forbidden from ever talking about her case or the details about her case. She's also forbidden from benefiting or profiting in any way from anything related to her case or who she is. And our family also is under that as well.
Oh, you guys as well. That's
legal, right?
Yeah.
Guilty by association. That's
guilty by association. You don't even get the illusion of a jury by your peers. I don't mean to. That's if it wasn't a tragedy, it would be a comedy.
It is, yes. So we had a GoFundMe that was set up for us by a person that we've never been met. A person who lives in Virginia set up a GoFundMe like the very week that Reality was arrested. And the government has said that we can't have that because we are benefiting from her case.
wow.
And there's actually a chance that we may have to forfeit some of that money that people donated to help us to the government. Now, we don't know if that's going to happen, but there's a chance of that because the government saw that GoFundMe as, something that was contradictory to the terms of her plea agreement, even though I didn't sign a plea agreement. The person who set up the GoFundMe didn't sign a plea agreement. And the people who, donated to help our family during this time, they didn't know that this would happen. And so it's just, this is how vindictive and petty that our government is. They're actually, really looking at whether they should ask us to forfeit some of those funds.
So I think that definitely branches in the full on when you're assisting people's families, which the administration said that they right. It wasn't enough to punish you. In speeches they came out specifically and said they would punish people's families as well.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, it's pretty much an eye opener for us as far as what our government is like. Our government is, when they get somebody in their target and they decide that they're going to go after that person doesn't stand a chance. Reality never stood a chance. The government has unlimited resources, unlimited manpowers, and they were doing dumping data on the defense team, like in these huge lumps of data. And there's no way to function like that. And then the defense team would have to go through all of this tons of data to figure out what's going to be used, what's not going to be used. It's not a fair fight. It is not a fair fight when you're up against the government of the United States.
Is it true that they even took her Bible away?
Yes, at the last facility in Baker County, Florida, they took her Bible as soon as they took her into intake, and they wouldn't give it back to her. And of course, when you're released, she couldn't take anything with her. And so I had to contact that jail and ask how I could get her Bible. I had to send that jail a $25 money order to have her Bible mailed to us.
Incredible.
Is
Yeah,
anybody
I've been
hearing
reading
any
about
clicking?
Yeah.
I'm sure there is quite a few machines in full on record mode right now.
Okay.
Well, for listening, I hope they can this to heart. Some of the things that have said on here, some of the, what I hope they see what the system that they're supporting, that they're the people that they're hurting. These are real people. Those are real people's lives. So for the clicking, for the people that are reporting, that are working for said agencies, take a second and think about what you're doing in the system that you're supporting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to understand there are people listening to these broadcasts who are not from the United States, including myself, and it's really shocking how the U.S. government treats people who only have the best interest for their country, and who literally just try to release the truth about what was happening. I mean, it's incredible to me, and especially how they treat her. Why would you even take away a Bible?
Exactly. I mean, there was nothing in that Bible. They could have searched it. It was a small hand Bible that she could hold in her hands, and it gave her comfort. She has anxiety, especially when she travels, but that's not allowed. And then to think that, at the date of her sentencing, it was acknowledged that she suffers from mental health disorders. She suffers from bulimia and anxiety and depression. And the court acknowledged that, and the court actually approved of the recommendation for her to go to a medical facility. But this is how they treat her.
Yeah, it's shocking. I mean,
Yeah. I do have a statement. I asked her tonight if she thought that if she wanted to share anything, if she wanted me to share anything about how she's doing. And I do have, it's a kind of a lengthy statement that she sent me an email, if you guys want me to read it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. She said, I would like to extend gratitude to everyone who is supportive at this time. It's incredibly difficult to not sink and feel that such degradation and neglect is deserved, or that I must live in shame for this conviction. But when people reach out and lend positive affirmation, it restores a little piece of me and who I am and who I was, and how the fact that I expected better from our government is not a criminal act. I don't want to be forgotten, nor do I want my struggles minimized. However, I am not alone in this. No part of this system should ever be called normal. Our society should be judged most harshly based on its treatment of those of us at its mercy, and according to that standard, our country is failing miserably. For my sake, change must be demanded of our elected representatives. We have to end this Department of Injustice and its economic hierarchy that exploits the powerless and strips them of their citizenship and basic human rights. No one should make a dime in profit off of the incarceration of another human being, and yet this is one of the most profitable industries in our nation. Meanwhile, I sit here deprived of mental health care, my bulimia and depression, which were diseases present before my incarceration, written off and ignored as a common women's issue and not the core challenge to my day-to-day survival. I have not been outside to see the sunlight in over 18 days. I live in a filthy warehouse, which now houses 90 women in one common room. This is the price of my activism.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the feeling that she's still so young. I mean, she's like 26, I think now.
Yes.
I mean, it's incredible.
She turned 26 in jail, and so if she does the next 5 years, of course, she might get out when she's age 30. So the best years of her life are pretty much going to be gone for her.
Is there any possibility that she might get early release? Like sometimes they do like a supervised, like they do like a they put them in apartments or like a staging facility before they get released, so it's kind of like a partial release.
Yes, we've been told that she might be eligible for good time, and she might be eligible to be released into a halfway house program.
Okay.
But that's not a given. That's not a guarantee. But I would think that if she did the 16 months in Lincolnton and had no infractions whatsoever, I think that she'll be okay as long as she finally gets to a decent institution.
And she's
And of course,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. And of course, I've already started communicating with the lawyers as far as filing for clemency, because she should be able to file for clemency pretty quickly here, because you can file for clemency once you have served like a fourth of your sentence. Now that is up to the President of the United States, so I don't know if if she's in his good graces or not. So, but that's something that we will definitely work on.
And she's still in a county. She's not in a federal facility right now, right?
Not yet, no. Not yet.
Moving her around from, and they've got all of these rules on, they can hold you at this place for 24 hours, for 48 hours, for 6 months, and then they move you to somewhere else, and those numbers start over. So they play all sorts of games to keep you off balance.
Right. Yes.
And they know that once she gets put into a federal facility, she'll have regular access to, phone time and calls, and if she's allowed to have access to a terminal or send an email out. I think you can in some federal facilities.
Yes. Yeah, this facility that she's in right now, this is the first time that she's had access to email. And so we've been doing a lot of emailing, and we had a video, a call. We had 2 video calls today. So I had one this afternoon, and then I had another one this evening, so that her dad could actually be involved as well. So.
I mean, it's important to get that moral support. It's important to know that people are have your back on the outside and thinking about you on the outside. It's easy to feel forgotten. So it is good that you have that little bit of contact with her. And tell her there's a lot of people on the outside that support what she did. And I mean, after that statement, that's exactly why.
Yeah. And she does know that she is extremely lucky to have the people out there that support her. When she woke up this morning, her email was full because we had put out a call on Twitter and on Facebook for people to email her, and people responded and they'll email her. And so that keeps her going. And it's also been huge for our family. I have never felt that we're alone in this. I've always felt very supported by all kinds of people from everywhere, from different communities, different countries even. There's always been this outpouring of support for her and for our family, which has helped us.
John, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I was receiving, I literally was receiving phishing links from people who were trying to get into our YouTube, I think. But yeah, the support. I mean, Kevin is on air too. Kevin, are you here? Because your podcast has been supporting reality for some time already.
Yep, my BD organization, Shadowproof, I went and covered. I was at the courthouse covering the hearings. Was at the plea hearing when she pled guilty. I was there when she was sentenced and got to see the grinding gears of justice in person. And I thought that she is held up tremendously well given all of the treatment that she's experienced. And definitely, as I listened to the statement that Billie read, she's kept up a lot of strength. I think it would have been easy for someone to lose their spirit after all that she's been through, but she's managed to keep herself together.
I don't know if you've got some experience with other maybe similar trials, but what did you notice about how they were treating her different from what you're used to?
Well, yes. So I covered the Chelsea Manning court-martial extensively. People who know my work that's usually, if they happen to know my name, they were following my Chelsea Manning coverage. So I'd compared her case to Chelsea's a fair amount of times, just because it was interesting to me that I thought that there was actually more decorum, and it was the process seemed to be better actually for Chelsea. So in that respect, I feel like in the U.S. military, you might they at least seem to do a better job of putting on this act of having fair and impartial justice. In the federal courts, and also I felt like in the military, there were more ways that Chelsea could actually share with the public in court why she did what she did, so we could know why she released the collateral murder video, so we could know why she released cables to WikiLeaks or the Iraq war or Afghanistan war logs. We were able to find out why she wanted to release that information to the public. But as far as Reality's case, there was never that opportunity in federal court. And in fact, under the Espionage Act, you're prevented from making a public interest defense to tell the public that what you released needed to be out there. And that can be used, the legal term would be a mitigating factor. So you did the crime or you committed an offense, but you did it because you wanted to do it for the public good. So you maybe shouldn't go to jail for it, or you should only pay a small fine or whatever. This happens with protesters too. You've got people who are protesting pipelines who are going now to court to say that, I had to do this because we need to fight climate change. And then you're hoping that a judge can say, okay, well, yeah, you did that because it was necessary. So I'm only going to give you a small fine or a traffic citation or something. I'm not going to put you in jail for 2 years. That's what Reality Winner should have been able to do, is make a case before a judge that she was releasing this document for the public, and there's just no way that she can do this. So as it compares, I think that it was much more difficult for her than the Chelsea Manning case. I think now since we're in the incarceration phase, I covered this case, a CIA whistleblower named John Kiriakou, who was someone who basically confirmed when George W. Bush was president that there was waterboarding going on of prisoners. He said this on ABC News, and the Justice Department was upset, and he became a target, and the CIA made him a target. They wanted to find a way to prosecute him, and eventually they caught him confirming the name of an intelligence agent, and they accused him of exposing that agent. So he was sentenced to prison he took a plea deal for 30 months, and he went to jail. I think what's important for people to follow right now is if you look at how whistleblowers are incarcerated, Reality Winner is already getting the standard treatment that you get. She's going to be in prison, and I believe that she's already been designated as this, they call it greatest severity. So she's been escalated up into a higher category of prisoners who will get special security treatment while they're incarcerated. And that gets you grouped in with people who are arsonists, kidnappers, people who were involved in explosive crimes or burglary or violent offenses or sexual offenses. John Kiriakou was incarcerated in Loretto, Pennsylvania. He was there with people from the mafia. He was there with pedophiles. These are the kinds of people that he was incarcerated with. And he was able to find out through the Freedom of Information Act that he was categorized specially because they see what she did as espionage. And that's the problem with the Justice Department, is that Reality Winner did not commit espionage. She just released a document. So the most you could accuse her of is not protecting classified information. But they don't have a way to, they don't treat that as a separate offense. They just lump it all in to espionage. So she gets put with all these violent criminals.
Yeah, no, I think, it would be easy to prove she was not doing any espionage. She didn't send it to any foreign government or whatever. She tried to get it through a normal media outlet, to release it in a safe way, or even have this media outlet decide how to communicate it with the government officials. But they're categorizing her in such a way to be able to do pretty much anything with her, to be able to silence her in every possible way. Do you feel it has to do with a new administration, or does it have to do with them learning from Chelsea Manning and earlier cases that they're
So the thing that might be stunning to people who are following this would be to learn that Donald Trump's not really doing anything all that different from Barack Obama's administration. If anything, he's picking up right where the Obama Justice Department left off. And it actually emboldens him, makes it so he can have this kind of elvish character, Jeff Sessions, who's been pretty mad in his history. He has this very real record of hating leaks and believing that this country should have an official secrets act, basically, which we don't. We have a First Amendment that says that you can you can have freedom of speech and you can have freedom of expression, and that's actually that's the way it's supposed to be. Obviously, we can debate whether it exists in practice, but the United Kingdom has an official secrets act. They do actually criminalize the release of classified information, and it's made papers like The Guardian have to subject themselves to odd procedures, like when Edward Snowden released this information, they sent in a team to destroy the hard drives that had files on those hard drives. It was theater. It was security theater, but they still made a show out of it. But that doesn't exist here. But Jeff Sessions has supported things that legislation, like something called a SHIELD Act, where they wanted a law in the books to particularly criminalize the release of classified information. Bill Clinton had a chance to sign this into law when he was president, but he decided not to because he knew it would probably violate the First Amendment. And so up to this point, we have this situation where the Justice Department will, in their attacks on press freedom, what happens is they go after sources, and Reality Winner's a source. The Intercept were the journalists that published her material, and she was their source, and they've been prosecuting sources, but they while at the same time claiming to protect press freedom, which is, you can see they're not actually respecting press freedom because they're going after people who are releasing information.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the weird thing is that Trump has actually like said before that like the Russia affair is like a witch hunt, and so why isn't there like more serious research being done into that, and like why is there like a complete media blackout about that? Like if Trump is actually saying like these are just small potatoes, like he called it. So.
Well, I mean, okay, there's certain. It's like you were cheating at a corrupt card, at a crooked card game. So at some point you have, he was cheating. The Clintons were cheating openly, both of them. Every single person around Trump, every single one, was connected to the Russians in one way or another. I don't truly understand the fact that a Russian agent used memes to expose the corruption in your voting system. Why is it so much more of a crime to expose it than it is to fix the corrupt system?
I thought you said it best, Terrence, when you said that we're both doing it, that the U.S. and Russia are both engaged in cyber warfare. So the very fact that we're talking about it, it shouldn't be that big a deal, because I think anyone in the military, in defense contracting, involved in politics would have to accept that this is the reality. This is the game that's being played. And if we're going to compete as superpowers, we're going to be hacking each other. And that's the way it's going to be. And to me, the real reason why the hammer comes down on people like Reality Winner, and why I know that a while ago we had this question of why don't more Democrats support Reality Winner, because you've got this Russiagate investigation, and her case fits into going after anyone who was involved in the Russia influence operation that's been alleged. And I think the answer is that you've got people like Rachel Maddow on MSNBC and others who are Democrats. You've got Democratic politicians, and they buy into this idea that classified information is sacrosanct and it can't be violated. And they get into these things. We talk about sometimes how senators will go into closed rooms and they'll look at documents. I mean, just listen right now, like even the FBI report, it's not classified, but the thing about Brett Kavanaugh and whether he was involved in sexually assaulting someone, they're going in some padded room and looking at a document. And everyone in media mostly believes that this is a process that has to be followed. And when somebody violates it, they go along with powerful people and say, you shouldn't have released that information. So I think that's why you don't see Rachel Maddow using her show to trumpet the case of Reality Winner, or you don't see any other MSNBC anchor celebrating her, because they themselves believe that classified information should never be released under any circumstance.
But yet they still come out, and especially the left spend an inordinate amount of time talking about transparency in government. Like across the board, they're always touting transparency, but then as soon as it's something important, we got to do it behind closed doors. And it's like the more that it affects the American people, the more it needs to be behind closed doors. And you'd think it would be the exact opposite. There should be a very select few things that should be behind closed door sessions. And I mean, what we're talking about, like, military technology and operations, just about everything else should be open to the public. Right. If it's not a clandestine mission, if it's not a, an undercover super secret squirrel mission, then it should be open to the people. Funding, all of those things, they affect us. We should be able to know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a national security exception applied. It goes back to President Obama particularly, and of course George W. Bush was using it as well. I think more so in Bush's case, it was clearly covering up criminal conduct and war crimes, etc. And there was some of that going on while Barack was president. But for the most part, it was that I don't want anybody to challenge my use of these different national security tools that I have. I don't want you to second guess and question my use of drones. I don't want you to question the secret surveillance that I've expanded. And so he withheld documents. You saw under Obama that it was harder and harder to get documents under the Freedom of Information Act about some of these things. I mean, just standard corporate or establishment journalists said that they're having trouble getting information out. So people like Reality come along, Chelsea comes along, or John Kiriakou comes along to talk about this, or you have Edward Snowden, and they recognize that all of this material and things that they're seeing should be known to the public, and then they pay a price for it, and they either end up in exile or they end up in jail.
Yeah, but that's very fine. I mean, it's not, when you look at Assange, you do. I mean, one way or another, you have to be in prison if you're speaking out. Whether it's self-imposed, whether you're trying to escape. Like the worst thing that you can do seems to be to tell the truth. And they make it a national. This was fine. There were no soldiers that were killed in this. This is not operational information. This is not any of that. This is saying, hey, your voting system is under attack by a foreign government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't know yet to this day that we've actually seen the kind of action that is necessary to protect election security. And we've got how many weeks until the midterm, this big midterm elections in the United States? We don't know what states did to protect themselves from spear phishing attacks. There's never really been a commission set up. Some of these states, I know Georgia had some kind of election integrity thing that their state was undergoing, but how many of these states actually looked at whether they were vulnerable and involved the public, the voters, in knowing whether their votes are going to be safe? I mean, the huge thing about this document that Reality Winner disclosed was that it suggested that possibly one way that the hackers, Russia, Chinese, wherever they're coming from, one way somebody could tamper with everything on the voter rolls would be to change the registration or change people's addresses or change how things were. So you go to your polling place and maybe your information's not right. So then what happens? You get a provisional ballot. And if you get a provisional ballot in a lot of precincts, those ballots might not be counted when election day is unfolding. And so your vote might not end up making it into the result. And then, you could see how someone might be able to get an edge because they were hacking into the system. So I think it's a big deal that, that we're here and we haven't seen the type of action that is deserved.
And I think, we have seen examples of tampering, of manipulation, across the board in different voting situations, and
Oh,
Oh, we lost.
yeah. John, you got a question?
No, I had a comment with like you talked about like getting people in trouble, but like the prosecutor said, like make no mistake, this is not a victimless crime. Winner's purposeful violation put our nation's security at risk. Is literally what the prosecutor said, but she didn't even put anyone at risk. She just tried to like release it through official.
as a victim, it was the corrupt. And they're very victimized people. Sorry, I got booted, but with the voting, just real quick, when you say some of these votes aren't counted or they're put together, a lot of these recent elections are very, very close races. So 1,000 votes one way or another, 500 votes, 3 votes one way or another can change the complete direction, including the coverage. When you understand how the media works, when you have someone on CNN saying, okay, this county's winning by 10 votes, people follow a winner. That's another 10 votes. Those things all build up and matter, and that can manipulate the whole system. But a lot of these elections, a lot of these midterms are going to be very, very, very close. So being able to change, like I said, vote somewhere can be the difference in a win or a loss.
Yep. Well, one thing to throw out there is that if we're talking about whether they have to prove that national security was put at risk, they don't. The government actually claims, and we would have seen if Reality's case had gone to trial, that the prosecutors would have insisted that they didn't have to put any evidence of damage on they wouldn't have had to put any evidence before a jury. They just could make a statement and it would be accepted that they were telling the truth, even though, obviously if you're a member of the public, you would want to see evidence that there was some kind of risk to national security before you just bought it. At least I would.
Especially when the people that are telling you that information that you're supposed to believe are constantly lying to me and like manipulating the system. It's not like you've got like good people saying, okay, you have to take my word for it. Like one of us isn't saying you have to take my word for it. These are like really bad people doing really, vindictive, mean and corrupt things that are saying, hey, believe me no matter what. The fact that you're saying that makes me not trust you.
It's absolutely true. And you'd want to be able to, beyond that, you think about the way these cases are pursued. I mean, how can you have a fair process if you can't see this evidence of damage? I mean, that's going to go to how much time you're sentenced in prison. And so, essentially, though, you get backed into a corner and you accept this plea deal, which is actually, as much as we call it a deal, I don't know if I would call it a deal because it's not like she got a great deal. In fact, I can just mention quickly here that if we look at a couple other cases, the Justice Department was able to stick her with a sentence that, as they even say by their own admission, and I know Billy said at the start that this was one of the longest sentences in the history of these kinds of cases. And you've got, as I said, John Kiriakou, that was 30 months. That was a deal. And he got 30 months less, which is less than what Reality, very much less. And then there's the case of Jeffrey Sterling, who is the CIA whistleblower, who allegedly released this material, though he denies it, was accused of releasing material about Iran and some operation that was being run by the CIA in order to I think it was designed to actually make it seem like they were involved in some kind of nuclear program. That this was something the CIA was running, and anyways, he got prosecuted for it, and he went to trial, and he was charged. He had 7 different counts of violating the Espionage Act. He was convicted of all of them, and he only got 42 months in prison. And Reality Winner's got 1 count of violating the Espionage Act. Just 1 count. 1 count gets her 5 years and 3 months. And then Jeffrey Sterling gets 42 months, 7 counts. So he's doing like 6 months for every Espionage Act count. So something's not right here. It seems like Reality Winner, she didn't just get the hammer thrown at her. She got like a massive sledgehammer thrown right at her.
Well, and this is a trend that we're seeing across, activists, across protesters. If you look at people that are protesting pipelines, water protectors, what used to be a trespassing charge, that was a fine, is now a multi-felony, 10 years in prison, hard time charge over, protesting a pipeline, specifically to punish people that are speaking out.
Well, it's a we call economic terrorists now. Yeah, that's the label they're using.
Yeah, they're hurting the one thing we care about most: money.
That's right.
Well, wouldn't the Black Pope be considered a economic hitman? Have you guys anybody ever done any research on him, the Black Pope, the current Pope we have now? He's a former CIA agent, hitman.
No.
For real, check it out. He's known as the Black Pope. He's an economic hitman.
No, I haven't heard anything like that.
I feel like I do know what you're saying, but I have to refresh my memory to be honest.
I think what matters is they're using the definition terrorist, and I mean what you put in front of it is really not so important. They're using the word terrorist, and that's how they can do the worst to you.
It's a trigger word.
It's like a gang activity.
Yeah, you can order terrorism, communism, right? ISIS, 9/11s. This is 1,000 9/11s. They're trigger words. You put. They're environmental terrorists. Well, what are they doing? Well, they're stopping you from polluting their planet. Well, that doesn't really sound like terrorism to me. Like the person that's putting down the pipeline's the terrorist, right?
Yeah, but whatever scares the public into accepting this, right? That's really what it's about.
They've been going more and more at your rights, left and right. Remember last year? I don't know if any of our viewers have watched. We had a show. When they were going to make a crucial vote on going after activists, on the guys who were planning the event on a protest, that if something had happened, a riot had broken out, that the planners, all of their property would automatically be seized and charged with all of the charges that would have gone through, which really doesn't make any sense to me other than suppressing, people speaking out against the government.
Yeah, you have to keep this illusion up of this untouchable establishment system, and whatever breaks that idea of this thing, it becomes like a terrorism or it's weird how scared they are of actual free speech, of actual knowledge, actual
terrorists. They left.
Oh yeah, they're using them in all kind of countries around the world. I mean,
I think are grand. They would like to work with them as soon as possible. But if you're doing anything positive, if you're speaking out for the people, those terrorists they're scared of.
Yeah, I think what we can do, we need to do something, of course, to help our reality. And so, what are the different things we and our listeners can do, Billy, to help reality? I saw this petition. I'm reading it right now.
Yes, there is a petition out there to ask for her release, to either her pardon or time served and release her. we've been really struggling to get signatures on that, and I don't understand why. So if there's anything that you guys can do to bolster that petition and get us signatures so that we can make it something that they'll listen to. Also, just keep her name out there. The mainstream media, as Kevin talked about and you guys have talked about, they don't tell her story. They don't report on Reality Winner. And when they did, it seemed like it went against her. There's been very few media outlets that want to report the truth about Reality Winner, that what she did was not espionage. And so that's what we ask, is that you just keep her name out there, make sure that information gets out there, and help us out with the petition. That would be great.
And the petition is on the website standwithreality.org. And you can find the petition on top of the website on the front page.
Yes.
It has about 10,000 signatures right now, but it needs a lot more, of course.
Yes.
So that's standwithreality.org. We'll also post it below the streams, and so you guys all sign this petition, please.
Yeah, for the people that are listening, share it out. You know, if you support everything that we talked about tonight, really. Show that support by signing the petition. It's something super easy that you can do, and we get enough people to sign it, they can't ignore it anymore, and that's to the point that we need to get. Where that support starts looking like votes, where people start asking, "Hey, why didn't you let somebody that I care about that doesn't deserve to be there? Why'd you keep them in prison?" So yeah, please share all of that info out.
Yeah, and is it also possible to write letters to her?
Yes, it is. Yes. Well, she's kind of in a temporary situation right now. We don't know how long she's going to be there at the facility where she is at, but we will always post where she is at and how you can write to her. We did post for people how if they wanted to get online and do the emails to her, and people have done that today, which is great. If you just follow us either on Twitter or on the website, we will always update where she is at and how you can write to her and how you can support her.
And just real quick, what was the Twitter tag?
I'm at Billie. What is mine? Billie Winner-Davis. So, and then there's also a Standby Reality account that is always updating where she's at.
And then there's the hashtags Free Reality Winner and the hashtag StandWithReality on both on Twitter. If you type in the hashtag, you'll find many tweets from people supporting her, and on the website standwithreality.org, you'll find the updated address then.
Yes.
Write her.
Do we have any comments real quick?
Yeah, that was one of my questions. Yeah.
I'm sure we've got quite a few by
any relevant questions. John?
I'm checking the YouTube now. We've got the usual people around having fun again in the chat.
It's funny. It's funny. This is like one of the first shows where I've seen a large Russian presence on, because we are on that social media.
There's one guy who says they've always played games between the two different parties, and they just call the victims collateral damage. I tend to agree with that.
That's a good point. Some of and that's I guess when we asked the questions, a couple of different times, why wouldn't the Democrats? This is, why wouldn't Mueller be excited that she exposed all of this stuff? And it's because the right left politics, a lot of that is for show, right? It's for us, the people behind the scenes. They don't want you talking, and that's from both sides. You mentioned Rachel Maddow and some others, but the fact that this isn't news, they deliberately keep it out of the news. They deliberately try to censor what people are saying, her ability to talk and kind of communicate with people proves that when it comes to the bad stuff, they've got no problem working together. You know, a lot of the fight and disorganization, you know, they all agreed that they have to meet in a back room. You know, there's when it comes to the dirty stuff, they all are on one page.
Another one says, reality became a victim of the current political atmosphere in which both sides are pointing fingers at each other for being corrupt. It's called illusion of choice.
Oh yeah.
I have a question from Facebook. Somebody is asking if you're willing to post your email so that people can email her.
You have to go in through the system. It's called smartjailmail.com, and you have to set up an account. Just like everything else that's associated with our jails, you have to pay for this, and you have to set that up. And you put her. You can search for her at the Grady County facility. She's at the Grady County Detention Center there in Oakashee, Oklahoma. And so look for Grady County, Oklahoma, and go on smartjailmail.com, and you can set it up. That's the only email her. She doesn't have her own email address. It goes through a kiosk there where she is housed.
Yeah, they have to read everything and inspect everything before they get it.
Yes.
Is there anything that I guess the Intercept could do, or that they haven't done during all this that might have helped?
I can tell you that First Look Media they had a fund set up just for something like this, and they paid for her legal team through the Baker Donaldson team, which was amazing. It was a very strong team of attorneys, and they did a very good job for reality, and that was all paid for by First Look Media. And the Intercept has kept her name out there. The Intercept has done pieces with regard to her case, her trial, the pretrial things, her conditions, and then they've always been willing to cover any news on her.
Yeah, like so many activists, like we can't let reality, fade into the darkness like we've seen with other activists out there,
I have no words myself.
Yeah.
We definitely do try to keep that from happening, whether it be on to reality. That's what we're here for, to be that answer to corporate media. We don't do the media blackout thing. In fact, anything that they say there's a media blackout on, we're immediately like, oh, well, you need to go look at that, right? That's the real news. Otherwise, they wouldn't be trying to hide it. Yeah, they've got.
Some media did cover it, like Democracy Now! We had a journalist from Democracy Now! Before on this show too, by the way, the photojournalist.
Oh yeah, I remember
that. So what are Reality's plans after she gets out? She must have plans. I mean, she's still young when she gets out.
Yeah, she is hoping that while in prison that she can finish her college degree. She was looking at sociology or social work. She wants to basically, first of all, come home to Texas, and she wants to teach yoga and teach spinning like she was doing. She wants to help people. That's what she wants to do.
Okay.
And Reality, I don't know if you guys know, but Reality is also a very talented artist. One of her supporters actually set up a website that features some of her jail art, and you can look for that on realitywinnerart.com. So basically, what she does is she will send people a drawing, and he's asked for people to send him the drawings and the sketches that she's done, and he's posting them there on that site for her, just to keep her name out there.
Well, and I'll definitely just keep in touch with us specifically, and when artwork or anything like that she'd like to spread the word on, feel free to use my platform, our platform, to do that. And, part of this is just getting the word out, and the more people we can reach, is the better. Like she's such an example of what you'd see. Like just an amazing person that did something that was so selfless. I think it's important to exemplify that. When so long we went with this greed is good mentality, we have to also go out of our way to lift up the people that really do exemplify what it is to be a good person.
And I appreciate that. Yes, I know that you have allowed us to use your platform, and I know that you guys have been very supportive of her through this entire process, and I do appreciate that. And I mean, I've said it from the beginning. If you know everything about Reality's life, she is a good person. She just tries to help others, and she tries to do the right thing. That's always been her life.
Well, and we obviously support whistleblowers because people like Reality are doing the actual job the media should do, the journalists should do. They're not doing it, and like the big media, it seems like they kind of like became a tool of the politicians, of the establishment, and it's very disturbing. And any activist for free speech and for truth should support people like Reality, and of course other whistleblowers for too. I mean, we're like living in a time that we are actually, all of us got have more access to knowledge, but it becomes more and more difficult to get access to the actual truth because the media is kind of working against us, and so we should all appreciate the work people like Reality do for us, and that's why I hope everyone is going to start with signing her petition.
Yeah, that's definitely a good place to start. I mean, we need to get as many signatures as possible, and in a way that you can show the amount of support that you have with the people. But I have to tend to agree that the corporate media has shown itself to be nothing but puppets. They're not reporting the news, and job at it that they've tricked people into even thinking the word whistleblower is a negative. The word whistleblower is a positive. That's someone speaking out in exposing corruption happening on the inside. Everybody at the end of the day should be a whistleblower, right? When you see a corrupt system, when you see a systemically corrupt system, you're obligated and should be allowed and able to speak out. That's why we have whistleblowers. But even when they talk about it, the government will make it sound like it's a negative. We must stop leaks and whistleblowers. No, we need as many whistleblowers as possible.
Yeah, and that much of it has to do with big money getting involved with the media and establishment politics. I mean, you did a lot of protest for the no DAPL protest for the oil pipelines, and you know how dangerous it is when big money gets involved with it. I mean, big oil money in that case.
Oh, they can do whatever they want. Shut down everything from CNN, BBC, the NPR, right? Wouldn't even talk about us, and it didn't matter whether the hand moved from Obama to Trump. They acted like they had never even heard of it. mercenaries, you know, there are no rules when you've got oil money. They can do whatever they want. But I also feel that this is quickly coming. You know, that time is coming to an end. That's why they feel so desperate in it. You know, they'd like, even in this case, they would like people to turn on reality. You know, they would like her to be seen as a villain, and that's not the case. In fact, I feel that the opposite has happened. With all of them, whether it be Assange, whether it be Manning, like all of these people, the government and the corporate media has came out, kind of toted this, they're villains or bad people or spies or all this bullshit. It's bullshit because the average person does not believe it. They still see them as Robin Hoods. And kind of the same way, like we've posted, like we've kind of talked about that before. You know, only the rich complain about Robin Hoods, right? Only the corrupt complain about whistleblowers.
So one listener says, Miss Billie, the Intercept needs to be held accountable. Yes, they were helping, but they caused this to happen to reality and your family. Sorry, but they need to make this right.
Well, yeah, I think, come on, they are obligated to protect their sources. And if that included saying, hey, you know, do it this way or do it that way, you know, that's something.
Those are nice words, but like when you have a subpoena on your desk from a federal agency, and there's a bunch of guys, you know, coming in with guns, you know, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard in the whim of whatever is to, you know, to protect yourself, you know, or your source.
Yeah, but that's the point of being a journalist. You know, if they would stand united in that, then it doesn't have the same effect.
Now, did she follow their instructions, or did she send this to them before there was any contact of how to do it anonymously or without getting in trouble, so forth?
That I really don't know. I think she just mailed it. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I understand the question that you're asking. So I think there wasn't any interaction between them. So she didn't talk to anybody at the Intercept and then mail the document after she had communication with the Intercept. So they just received this, and I think it's a fair thing to say that there should be accountability, actually, in the sense that when they talk about this, to me, I think it's a fair thing, especially when we're talking about the Intercept. Is like, you know, I think that they do a lot of work. I know people who work at the outlet, but I do think that they should probably take it more seriously, that people wonder if it's safe for sources to send material there because of some of the things that they did. I mean, if they're getting documents, there shouldn't be journalists who are having the people at the NSA authenticate them for them in the way that they did, because that actually tipped them off and made it possible, since there were only a small number of people accessing the document. And so they were able to then quickly figure out that it was Reality who provided the report. So I don't think it's totally unfair. There's been some times when they were asked about these concerns that they haven't totally taken them seriously. These concerns. They have two journalists, one of them Matthew Cole and then Richard Esposito, who were the same two journalists who were involved in the information that, or they were involved in what eventually happened to John Kiriakou when he got arrested. So it makes you question, like, what are these journalists doing? How are they maybe more like access journalists, like people who are talking so much to their sources in power that it actually has compromised them, so that you're not sure if you can trust them, and like, who are they working for exactly becomes a reasonable question.
I think in this situation it was one person at the Intercept, because I'm not sure if you're aware, I think so, about what happened with Barrett Brown. The DOJ did subpoena the Intercept too, in the case of Barrett Brown, and they asked for the financial records and the communications between the Intercept and Barrett Brown. And the Intercept refused to deliver the communications. They did provide the financial stuff, but they didn't want to give over the communications. So
yeah,
I'm pretty sure they would protect reality in the same way. So it has to be someone working there, like I think, getting working out of their protocol.
So there were like 4 or 5 journalists that handled the story, and they had their names on the byline. And at least 2 of the individuals I know, as I named them, they had been involved in a prior case where someone was exposed to prosecution, and the way they contacted is important. I know that Jim Risen, who works at the Intercept, had said that basically this wasn't really something that he wanted to talk about because sources and how you protect them. It's similar to how WikiLeaks doesn't want to talk about where their information comes from, and I understand why you would do that. You want to protect your sources, but the question, I think, is really about how you go around verifying and authenticating your information. And I do think that that is something that you can talk about openly, because it doesn't really involve the source. It involves what you're doing when you're going to share the information to make sure that it can't be traced back to the source. So obviously and clearly, the way that they went about talking to the government to figure out if the report was a real NSA intelligence report, that exposed her to the authorities being able to locate her. And that's a clear problem. And I know that they did their own investigation and they looked at what happened, and I think they've learned from it. But I do think that when people are concerned about whether the Intercept can be trusted, that that's a real and actual valid reaction to what happened, because this was an organization that started from basically the Snowden files. And so you would think that they would find it first and foremost, that they would know how to practice information security. I mean, they have a guy, Michael Lee, who publishes stuff all the time about how to protect yourself and even advises people on how to leak. And so when they committed this, it was a big deal. I mean, you had people like, there's one journalist named Barton Gelman at Washington Post who had published some of the NSA files from Snowden, and he himself was just pointing out all the things that were done that just were completely baffling as to how they handled it. So that question's a fair question, as much as I think the Intercept deserves a lot of credit for supporting Reality Winner.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I guess know some of the details of that, because from my perspective, if somebody came with that kind of information and you needed to get it, validated or verified, you would think you would have confidential contractors that would be able to look at you, look at it and be like, yeah, that's real or that's not real. That you wouldn't get government, you wouldn't get whistleblower information about government corruption and then take it to that same government agency to have it verified. It sounds stupid to me.
Yeah, the problem is them actually getting to see the document and be able to tell what it is, and then to be able to locate the markings. I mean, if you were talking about some of its contents and not letting them see the information itself, then it becomes easier, I think, to protect your source. Then you're talking, if you can talk in more general terms to try to figure out if it's in fact true, maybe you can mention some of the spear phishing and ask about whether the NSA knew about these instances. But just jumping to sending the document over there for them to look at is a pretty dumb thing, especially when it has particular markings that are unique to the document.
But we can't act shocked. We were kind of sitting here laughing about it. It's the NSA. They recorded every single electronic piece of information to be in the U.S. The NSA knows. They have all of that information. It's ludicrous to think that they don't, but yet they'll act like it's a complete shock. It's kind of baffling to me sometimes.
Well, and of course, all of the different ways that they're tracking this document, that's the legacy of Chelsea Manning and WikiLeaks. That's the sort of technology that was put in place to be able to find people. And one of the and this didn't come up yet, but one of the things that was invoked to keep her in jail, this sort of denial of bond that took place. There was this instance that the prosecution would talk about where she took a removable device and she put it in a computer, and then an alert screen came up and it told her basically gave her some kind of a message about how she wasn't supposed to be doing that on the computer. And so this sort of thing is like they're tracking everything that employees or contractors are doing, and Reality Winner and everybody at The Intercept was well aware that this kind of thing was going on.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine. Like I said, if somebody brought a piece of technology, if somebody brought leaked information that I needed to verify, I could find people that were close enough to ex-CIA, ex-NSA. There are contractors out there that look at confidential information and can verify whether it's real or not. I wouldn't get information from somebody that's leaking and then immediately take it to the people that they're leaking it from to verify it. That just seems so weird to me. Like, hey, I've got this secret information from your office. Is this real?
Yeah.
And you can tell that if the journalist made that call that they'd say yes because they want to see that document, so then they can begin an investigation to figure out who released it. It's just, if you're that government person, you know why they're doing that.
If I was the agent, that would be my very next statement. Oh yeah, sure, bring it up. Any copies you may have of it, straight to my office. If you could, thank you. Yeah, please. List everybody that's seen and everybody you came in. You know what? I have that already. Yeah, don't sweat
it. I can see that the Freedom of the Press Foundation is also involved with this case. I mean, people remember them from the Edward Snowden thing, of course. I mean, he's one of the key people there. But how did they respond to all of this? I'm not sure who I should ask. Because I'm looking at another petition created by them now. It's co-signed by Noam Chomsky and Daniel Ellsberg too from the Freedom of the Press Foundation, and it's the petition is called the open letter for secure elections and true national security. So apparently they're also worried about the same thing, and they're actually got a petition to ask for more security surrounding the elections. I mean, have they been helpful to your case?
Yeah, they have been helpful with regard to the campaign. I think everybody knows that in the beginning, Courage to Resist Foundation, they're the ones who launched the Stand with Reality campaign. And some members from Freedom of the Press Foundation were actually on the campaign and helped to launch that. And so through that, we did build up some support. They did some fundraising for the legal defense, and with her name out there and things like that. And we did a couple of petitions as well throughout the process. But again, a lot of the petitions haven't really taken off the way that we would want them to.
Why do you think that is? Is that do you think there's not enough media attention or not enough attention given to this, or the people are scared to sign it, or?
I think I do think that the lack of media attention. A lot of people, if you walk into a restaurant or you ask them if they've heard of Reality Winner, they'll tell you no, they haven't heard of her. There's so many people who are not aware of Reality Winner. There's still people out there today that think that that's a fake name, that that's not a real person, because there were jokes made about it when she was first arrested. And so there's so many people who are still unaware of Reality Winner and her case. And then there's the people who believe what they saw, the prosecution, their side, that they believe that she is truly a traitor to her country, that she is guilty of espionage, that she sold secrets to other countries, and that she doesn't deserve the support. I still get messages from people who say that she needs to be hung because she's a traitor. So,
Yeah, I think it's weird that there's not enough attention, because when I look at Twitter and every discussion, people talk about the Russian meddling in elections, and they're not discussing the actual person who leaked this kind of stuff. So,
And that makes no sense because both
no.
the U.S. and Russia looked pretty damning at that point. Exactly who would you sell the information to? The Russians,
right.
and the people that were hiding the hackering operation aren't happy that you exposed it. Who exactly would pay you?
Yeah.
It just messes up their lie. They can't cover up that lie fast enough to catch up with the other one, and it puts them out there. It puts them in the spotlight.
Well,
I think that's what made them mad.
Yeah, like in this case, nobody benefits from it but the people. Obviously.
Well, we all just benefit from knowing the actual truth about everything. I mean, that's what we benefit of. And I personally, I think she did her country a great service. And I mean, she worked in the military for so long, and she released these things when she found out about this, and she released it in a safe way, and she's being treated like a terrorist. I mean, it is shocking to me, and I do think it needs a lot more attention than it gets right now. So I hope we can help with that.
Yeah, we'll do what we can.
Well, thank you.
It's a small part. Somebody stands up for your rights, you're obligated to stand up for them. When someone sacrifices their freedom to expose this kind of corruption, you're obligated to. They obviously would do the same for you. They've already proved it. They already did the hard part. Right? And when it happens, it's up to us. And we see that across protests, when people are doing, right? They're getting arrested for you. You know what I mean? They put themselves on the line for you. It's your obligation to support them and to help them and to keep their names, in the news, to keep their stories out. So no, I'm in the position to do it. Really, you guys can't see it, but I have a huge smile on my face just from the opportunity to be able to do it. To be able to do it.
Yeah, well, and I'm also shocked by something else, and that is, I heard it for for the first time in the last 2 days. That is this entire diesel therapy thing. I mean, it's just shocking to me to even read about this.
They've done that to a few of our guests. They did that to Commander X. I know they did the similar stuff. There was this guy, a cult leader in the 70s. They did the same thing to him when they had busted him. From what I hear, it's more common than you would think.
If you, from what I see, it looks like if you get into it with the officers, or when you're arrested, or if you antagonize them in any way, they can really turn on the vindictiveness.
Yeah, I remember watching an episode of Fear Factor, and there was a guy out there who leaked some information on the CIA, worked for the CIA, and he was put in all sorts of deprivation chambers, sorts of repetitive music while he was locked in a room.
Things that they've been doing with us is they spray you with the pepper spray when they finally arrest you and all that. They take all your clothes and all that. Well, then they put all of the clothes with the pepper spray, and they spray the clothes with the pepper spray, and then they'll put that in one of the jail cells. So the whole jail cell, you can barely breathe in there.
That's how it is here. If you're a guy and you go to a big prison, your first 3 days you spend naked in a cage.
Yeah, that happened to me a few times.
They want to see what you're taking in there. You're thoroughly washed in these places.
Yeah, and don't forget about the Matt the Heart situation. I mean, he was even tortured, and apparently was given like only candy and Coca-Cola to eat for a while, like literally, and they drugged him, and there are medical records of this. I mean, it's shocking what is happening in the American prison system. I mean, when you like list all these different things they're doing to people after they're arrested, I mean, you're talking about a so-called free country, right?
You don't give a fuck. We'll put kids in cages, right? We'll air.
What'd you say?
Like,
Well, that kind of happened with the prison industrial complex. What do you call it? The for-profit prisons.
yeah.
You know, brought on a lot of that.
We only have, like, they go to the same people, and they only have one fix for everything. They only go to the prison industrial complex. Like, oh, we've got a problem with the drug problem, right? Oh, how about more prisons? Immigration, more prisons. More people, more prisons, right? Like, that's the only answer that they have. You have inequality in America, just, injustice between colored, between colored people and whites. Oh, yeah, more prisons, just more prisons. If there's one thing we need, it's more prisons. But it's their solution to absolutely everything. We got A or B.
Yeah,
America do like other stuff. Like we used to build stuff other than bombs and further.
Okay, and what about support from senators or whatever? I mean, they're mentioning it in these hearings. There are these senators saying Russia tried to undermine confidence in voting systems. Are you receiving any support from any senators at all, like from other public figures in government?
There's a few that are running candidates that have expressed their support for reality, but no one really sitting has come out. There might be two that have come out and said yes, that they support her, but they're not willing to put their names out there or to really do anything to be active about it. So.
But they're okay with using her as a source, and like they're literally using her intel as a source, and they're like in these hearings and they're complaining about Russian meddling, but they're not actually supporting her in any way.
Right.
And like just in general for all of these, the amount of issues that are across the board, you're gonna find hard up to find senators to support anything until after the midterms.
Well, it's interesting though because it fully supports the narrative that they're pushing, and yet they don't refer to it.
I guess it shows what kind of people they are, to be honest.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
No, it's just weird because it undermines their own story. Like they should support it, and they should say like, no, this is a credible source. He's not a criminal. All these things, because if you don't support your actual one of your sources, then you're actually undermining your own story too, I think.
Yeah, on a couple levels, they're not really smart people, and on the same token, they're not honorable people either. So like those two together are dangerous, and it kind of gets us into the situation that we're into now, where they will use the information to, fight one of their enemies or whatever games they're playing, right? But then, not fight for the same person who gave you that information. But no, I mean, I think it kind of, they are users. No, I mean, I think that's been proven over and over and over again.
Yeah, they enjoy using it to stir up the pot, but they never complete the picture. They never actually use it to the evidence to complete their story.
Well, and it's here like
they are strange.
Like some of the other leaks, the NSA spying program in general, under the Obama administration, or at least the expansion of it. When that leaked, it became just like it is here. Oh, well, shame on the person for leaking your illegal spying program. You should be ashamed about that. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you should be prosecuted for that. But yet, the person that exposed your corruption is in trouble. And those same people that will use it as an excuse, the same, and that's on the Republican side, right? The same people that would go out of their way, NSA spy and deep state, blah, 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 they're not coming out to defend you, where the only reason they even know about it is because. Terrible. Guys, I'm gonna be honest, we're gonna have to vote these guys out of office.
I was gonna say, how many times have we tried? The system is rigged.
Oh yeah, okay, but to be honest, guys, at a certain point, we're gonna have to quit fucking around. Like, just pick somebody else. Don't ask them. I'm gonna kidnap. He's running for president. I don't care. We're not gonna. You've been drafted. You're not getting a choice. Well, I mean, just somebody that isn't part of the system, and we'll just hide them somewhere, live stream it. Oh no.
So I was wondering, Billy, are you in touch with any other moms in similar situations? Like 2 weeks ago, we had Leanne Hart on, and her son is in jail for years, and she's also in touch with some other people in similar situations. Are you in any way doing that? Or?
Leanne has reached out to me. She has been a tremendous source of support for me. She actually was able to be with us when we had a candlelight vigil for Reality on her the 1-year anniversary of her jailing. And Leanne was actually able to travel to Georgia to be with us, and that was really special for me because I mean, there's no one else who knows how it feels.
No, she's been fighting for her son for so many years, and
she has.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a tremendous. That was really special to have her there with me for the candlelight vigil. So I really haven't been in touch with anyone else. This whole year has been about just trying to get Reality's name out there and trying to keep her strong. And for a good portion of the year, I actually relocated to Georgia, and I was living in her home there so that I could be close to her and I could at least visit her during the very limited visitation timeframes that they had there at that jail. But somebody had to be there so that she wasn't forgotten.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's the right thing to do, of course. I mean, she has to know that you don't forget about her, that no one of us forgets about her. I mean, we have to show her support, and that's why I also want to say to people again, please visit the website standwithreality.org and not only sign the petition but also send her letters, because I know we've all done this for Matt the Heart too, and I heard how grateful Leanne was because Matt was receiving so many letters. He was like being occupied all day with it. So, and I'm hoping we can do the same for Reality, because this really helps. I mean, she has to know that we're all thinking about her, and that she actually did the right thing, and that she is not alone in this. So please, everyone, write her.
And Laura Love, Barrett Brown, Phoenix 420. Don't forget them. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, Phoenix is still in jail. I mean, Laurie Love fought his extradition thing successfully, and I mean, Barrett walked free, but Phoenix is also still in jail. Yeah.
And look, these are it takes us taking that step and sharing things out, talking about them, making sure that the information stays on the internet, stays in the media. You know,
Terrence, you're breaking up really bad.
Yep.
I couldn't decipher that. I'm sorry.
I want to also say that, Thomas Drake has reached out to me, and he was also present at the Candlelight Vigil as well, which was, a great thing for to know that he supports Reality as well. And Don Kiriako has also reached out to us and has been, there for us. Jesselyn Raddick, Lisa Ling. We're also working on a documentary with Sonia Kennebec, who's the one who did National Bird. And so there's quite a few people who have come into the picture.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's a good thing, of course. I mean, I have been looking at some media who wrote about this. I'm looking at questions now.
There's been quite a few people watching.
It's mostly comments about how brainwashed people are and about how the system is so corrupt.
Trash talk.
Right in front of us, and so many people don't see it, or don't hear about it, or don't even realize where the information, they're talking about, and that might not necessarily be a mark against them, but they'll talk about the Russian hacking, talk about the investigation and all of that stuff, but then they don't even know, or they've been it's been ignored on why they have that information. I think a lot of people tonight didn't realize that the Senate was using those same documents as proof.
No, exactly, and they're not even supporting the actual sources they're using. So
yeah. So
then you got the questions of, or who's going to believe me? How can I explain this for somebody else to understand? Who wouldn't believe me? Touchy subjects.
Yeah.
Well, it always happens when you have a more complex situation like this. I mean, you really have to look into it before you can understand what's going on. People just don't spend the time usually.
You're gonna have to think a little bit.
It's asking a lot.
To think a little bit.
Well, you see, the Senate was willing, and I think they still are, to give Julian Assange not asylum, but immunity for his testimony, and yet they don't do anything here.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would. You know what I mean?
That's sticking their neck out. That's not something senators usually do.
Yeah, but I mean, would they really stick their neck out for you? When you're here and they say, and he sends whoever to come and arrest you, got fucking ICE violation, right? What are they going to do about it?
You know, you look at all of the situations that they could stand up for that they never do.
Yeah, but that's the difference between reality and like other whistleblowers. She just went through all the correct networks to with this information, and like when Snowden, for example, went to like Russia to flee away from it, and Julian is in an embassy protecting himself, but she just believes she did nothing wrong, of course.
Yeah, I think that's something like I think it's not just that she didn't do anything wrong. I mean, it's clear she didn't do anything wrong, but I don't think that maybe those opportunities presented themselves. You know, not everybody can take off to Russia in a day. You know, that's not always that's not always an option. And you know, in some ways you're free, and in some ways you're definitely not. You know, you're definitely on the U.S.'s shit list.
Yeah, but what I mean to say is, how do they frame this story? Like, she wasn't running away or anything. I mean, she just believed she did the right thing.
I think if they just keep CNN and Fox News from talking about it, it'll go away. And that's just not the case. But yeah, honestly, I think that's what they figure with a lot of these things. If they just don't talk about Leonard Coutier, right, we'll quit talking about it.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case. But they're always under the impression that it'll just if their puppets don't talk about it, that nobody else will.
What's the idea behind all their censorship here lately?
Oh
Continuing efforts to shut down any message they don't like.
I got one share off before they shut down my Facebook page on this one.
They're on you, man.
I knew it was going to happen. It was worth it.
You're on board with the go along, get along program, but they're going to get you to get along anyway. So just go ahead, get rid of it. Poof, be done with Facebook like the rest of us.
No, I've been kicked out of much better establishments than this.
It's a dying it's a dying page anyway. With decentralized blockchain and moving into takeover, and Facebook isn't really done anything with that. It's going to move everybody more into cryptocurrency and get away from Facebook, I feel already. So just go ahead and get rid of it and find something else.
Just go find
quit giving them your biometric data and your psychometric data to use against you in the court of law. It's public records.
I don't think by now, I don't even think they need biometrics. I'm pretty open with my hatred for There's I think it's a little bit overkill. They could have called me. I would have told them.
Okay, so we discussed signing the petition, sending her letters.
Maybe this is a stupid question, but for somebody, are people able to put money on her commissary, or does that count as somehow benefiting?
I don't really know how to answer that. I know that I'm not allowed to advocate for that.
Okay. Oh yeah. It definitely there as far as that side.
Oh, and are there other limits in what you can say and what you can't say, like in regards to that plea deal stuff?
I'm not under any of that. It's just she, for the rest of her life, she will not be able to discuss this case or even why she did it. You know, she's very limited in what she can talk about, and anybody involved in the case as well. I don't know if people know, but that, you know, there were some very strict protective orders that were imposed on everybody involved in this case from the beginning. And that's also why you didn't hear about the case, because nobody was allowed to talk about it. The lawyers were never allowed to talk about it. And to this day, they're not allowed to talk about details. They can talk about, yes, I defended Reality Winner, and they can talk about what kind of person she is, but they can't talk about the case. at one point, a group of supporters actually paid for a billboard that was put up in Augusta, Georgia, with Reality's picture on it. And this angered the judge so much that he issued another gag order on the attorneys, reminding them that they were not allowed to do anything that was extrajudicial with regard to communication about this case whatsoever. And none of the attorneys had anything to do with the billboard. They didn't even know about the billboard until the billboard went up. I didn't know about the billboard until it went up. I don't know who paid for it. But yes, they were under such strict conditions with that court, and that played a part in it too. The location of Reality's trial being there in Georgia, it's extremely conservative, and I truly believe that the judges that were involved in her case thought that she had done a very, very bad thing. They saw her as a very bad person who had done a very bad thing.
It's actually a huge billboard, by the way. It's a good job.
It's as big as a building.
Yeah.
Was she assessed any like restitution or any punitive damage or anything she has to pay back for doing this or in any way? Or
no, that she was not.
Okay.
There were no fines imposed.
That's good. That's good.
It's just a lot of hard labor. Dig your own bathroom every so many days.
What?
I can only imagine. Yeah, well, it's a smart prison. I don't know. From what it sounds like, smart man. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, but then there's that issue of being like moved between prisons like all the time. Oh, annoying. I mean, we talked to Leanne, and she was actually happy that he was like in between like prisoners. He was actually doing projects with them, and like wasting his time on some useful things. And that does. Do you know if Reality does she get along with others there? Like,
oh yes, when she was at Lincolnton, she definitely got along with the other inmates there. She made some lasting friendships. We all did. I still, keep in contact with one of the girls that was incarcerated there with Reality, and she got along. She did get assaulted one time by one of the inmates there, and she was not able to defend herself because she was told that if she assaulted anybody in any way, that would result in another charge against her.
Yes.
Mm.
And
That's a tough place to be in. I've been incarcerated and been in the same situation where it's not gonna work into your favor even if you're trying to defend yourself.
And it's not always quite as innocent as it seems sometimes. And I don't want to put that on anybody, but they will specifically seek people out to confront you with the number one intention of getting you more time.
Yep.
They'll find something for whatever reason will work for them, and they're going to attack you. And when you defend yourself, the reason that they did that was so that you defended yourself and got more time. And we've seen that in other similar situations. But it's good to see, even underneath that kind of pressure, that she's able to keep a cool head and take care of herself. It's a horrible situation to be in, but it's good to see that even in that pressure, she's able to keep, impressive. Just an amazing person.
okay. We should follow up on this subject later again in a future episode again. Is there something you really wanna say to the listeners, like what they can do to to help? Like, should we organize street protests, for example?
Maybe at some point.
We do have the 5th coming up, so I will, make it a point. There's actually a couple of people that we've said we're going to make sure have signs and that get a good view of the media, and that's a time when we can use the corporate media against them, because they will live, they will focus on the event and realize what the signs say until way after the fact. So I would say that that's another opportunity for us to bring light to it, and there'll be a lot of people live streaming and a lot of discussions, a lot of people coming together. So when the 5th does happen, make sure to take that as an opportunity to get the word out.
Okay, so that is actually a good idea to ask for attention for Reality's case during the Million Mask marches on November the 5th, for sure. That will be a good thing, yeah.
Make some signs.
Go protest in front of the jail.
Yep.
Yeah, that works.
Make a list up and get a Million Mask March in D.C. and of everyone that's been put in jail. Phoenix.
Well, it's just
Reality.
and
Snowden.
it's another good place when people are around you. Sign the petition.
Now, it seems like everybody has gotten conditions as part of this plea deal or restrictions rather. What restrictions is the Intercept under after all this has taken place? I mean, they've already got the information and put it out, but were they told not to do anything as well?
I'm not aware of anything. They weren't a party to the case at all.
But it seems strange. I mean, well, really, you aren't either, but yet you have restrictions. The lawyers have restrictions.
Yeah,
Right.
they did the same thing to Matt. Remember when Matt gets on, Matt was they were gonna let Matt out early, and part of the conditions of him being released early was stipulations put on the parents themselves. So
What?
yeah.
Yeah, they have a way of expanding their reach when it's out of their jurisdiction. It's like you're not even part of a case or anything.
That's some of that comply and conform or be forced to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know we always say that it's the police state, but when are people going to wake up to that? Like, you have to have full on Judge Dredd, or will when they start putting stipulations on family members that have nothing to do with any of them.
Yeah, I don't see how they get away with that. But
No.
Like, it doesn't seem rational.
yeah, you're not a party to the case, huh?
Right. And I mean, my husband and I have talked about, I mean, if they were to come after us, I mean, do we get an attorney? But again, when you're talking about, they have unlimited resources. So pretty much when you're going up against the government like this, you're not going to win no matter what. So not unless you have media on your side. If you get enough media on your side and people get outraged and the facts are out there, that's about the only way that you can do this. So, and I do blame the mainstream media for letting reality down. There just wasn't enough. There wasn't enough coverage. And so pretty much the government got away with whatever they wanted to do in her case.
Yeah, it's surprising because, from what I'm detecting, it seems like she has a more, liberal leftist bias, which should play to the media and exactly what was going on. It's really surprising that there was no support there, because in so many ways it fed straight into the agendas that they were trying to push.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, could have at least been a bit more supportive.
Yeah, I was thinking of the stories I heard. I mean, and it's surprising. You have somebody that played right into what you wanted, and then yet you don't the story doesn't show that. It's just like, oh, like you were saying, bad person stole, leaked government secrets. That's about all you hear.
Yeah, but that's why I
But
also
this,
ask, like, why aren't like senators supporting her? I mean, if they're running with the story and they're angry about this meddling in elections, then why aren't they standing up for sources like reality? And I mean, it's shocking to me. Like, same as with media. I mean,
yeah, it's just.
I think that there's like a general hate from the establishment against whistleblowers in every possible way.
I think that's the thing.
Yeah, if it doesn't come out through their official channels, if they don't get to do it, then you kind of beat them to a story, or they miss the scoop, and
Or
they're not included, so then they get a little butt hurt, if that could be the word for it, and they're just not on your side, or you didn't play into the scheme or do it the way they do things, and then they'll turn on you.
And whatever safeguard you will build for her will also be there for the other whistleblowers, and that will perhaps shoot them in the face.
Well, it will. I mean, that is 100% their fear. When you're dealing with a system that's corrupt, all of those people, left or right, have so much to fear. When you see the numbers they get from the banks, the games that they play, the wars for profit, the prisons for profit, the fossil fuel industry, name the list of evil corporations that don't have their fingers in both the left and the right. And they hate being exposed for that. They'd like to have their narrative of what the political system is that they're selling, not what it really is.
Yeah.
And they really hate when anybody speaks out about that. Comey's your champion when he's talking shit to Trump, but he's not your champion when he's hiding Russian involvement during the election. Yeah. It's a weird world.
Okay, well, it is an incredible story for sure, and I mean, I think all of us are shocked by all of this. I mean, it's incredible. You can still speak out about this in this way, Billie. I mean, you're very strong for sure.
Well, I have to be. You have to be as strong as you need to be, and if she can endure this, so can I. So we just need to be there for her and to continue to fight and to continue to get her story out there. I wish more people would go in and actually, read the legal documents, read about her case, so that, the public doesn't see her as this traitor, somebody who's guilty of espionage.
No, exactly, and we should do everything we can to make sure that happens. Like, give as much attention to this case as possible, and I do hope you will keep us updated about all of this in future episodes, of course, and also, of course, we can talk in the different methods we are already doing, and. I really appreciate you coming on with us tonight.
Well, I thank you. I thank you for the opportunity, and I thank you for your support. And anytime you want to have me back for updates, just invite me.
You're always,
All right.
And I know we offered it before, but you're always, and we'll keep getting the word out. And like I said, with what she is sacrificing.
Terrence, you're breaking up pretty bad.
What's going on?
Gotta get that fixed.
Thank you very, very much for coming on.
All right, we heard that.
Yeah. A quick comment from someone is that the media is going to focus on the flavor of the day, and right now it's the Supreme Court. Yeah, that's always the issue.
Yeah, Tuesdays and Fridays. So, Monday's the warm up. Tuesday we get the new shocking story for the week. That runs to Friday. Then we get a tweet and news story. We start the whole thing over. Then easy. The corporate media is predictable.
Yeah.
Yes, one they would like the memory hole, if anything.
Okay, and we should repeat the website again.
It's standwithreality.org.
Yeah. And we should also pitch Kevin's channel. Do you also want to? Because you're also giving a lot of attention to this case, right? I mean,
well,
you
yeah.
also-
And I'm putting together a report now so that I can at least join the Intercept as one of two outlets that regularly covers this case. And there's a lot of coverage. If you go to shadowproof.com and look for Reality Winner, you can find several things, including even an interview that was done after the sentencing with one of her attorneys, Titus Nichols, talking about what it was like to defend somebody accused of the Espionage Act. And then this is something that I will cover regularly on my weekly podcast, which is called Unauthorized Disclosure. And that's a deliberate use of the term that she was accused of committing because I decided to reclaim it. I think that we could be proud to commit unauthorized disclosures.
Yeah, I think you're doing a great job at that. I've been looking at it, and we really appreciate you coming on as well.
Thanks.
Yes, I do appreciate all of the work that Kevin has done on Reality's case as well. He's been phenomenal, just covering it and getting the articles out, attending court. It's been great.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right.
Great show.
Where were your intentions? Are you going to go on from here, Tyler? Or
Oh, yeah. I had other plans. I had other topics that I wanted to cover, but let me see. God, select all. Gosh damn it. Put it in the chat room. There we go. Boom. There are the other.
oh, now you. Yeah,
Sorry.
now you send it. Yeah, it's a little late. Yeah.
No, why would Facebook get hacked?
Are you guys really tired already? I mean, it's like 6:34 in the morning for me here.
You want to end the show early? I mean, it's up to you.
No.
Okay.
To me, it doesn't matter. Like I'm used to it already.
Well, what do we have? What do we have on the clock?
We have an hour and about two hours left. So, or no, an hour and a half.
Hour
left.
and a half.
Yeah.
Well, what else do we have on the docket? I mean, to be honest, I've been live streaming about the Kavanaugh thing like nonstop.
Okay, we'll skip that then.
Yeah.
There was. Let me see. There was something new that came up, and this kind of frightened me. There was Twitter updated their policy last week. Kind of weird that it's coming up near the elections that are coming up. But nobody can post anything if it's related to hacking or hacking material or post-hacked material, or they're saying that they're automatically going to ban you.
So you can't post hack read or.
That's what they're
No,
saying.
Let's just.
I mean, what is
Yeah.
that? Hacking news? I mean, what is that?
Well, they're basically what they're saying is like hacked materials, stuff related to tools, and just the stuff that stuff that people have been posting for a long time related to hacking and hacking related materials, hacks that they've done, exposing hacking related materials. They're saying that they will ban your account if they find it. I don't know how they're going to program. I mean, programming an algorithm like that is not very hard. Programming it to incorporate into images is going to be a little more difficult. But it's not really out of the way, and Facebook already has that technology out going right now with Rosetta.
But I mean, even now, you're hard up to find one of our posts that already it doesn't have that like little block over it that it's.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Like if you have a DDoS or a screenshot of a defacement or a shady links to, you know what I mean? They're saying that you will lose your account, and the timing is weird. The timing they updated their policy about a month before the election happened, which I think that they're thinking is that a lot of stuff will come up for the midterms.
Well,
So just wait till after and post up all the emails.
Well,
and that.
yeah, whether it's illegal or not,
Well-
it's still there's still a freedom of speech and press. You know.
well, I don't. They're gonna try to censor people that are posting about hacking or tools or whatever, but then leave the options open and the programming allows you to create bots inside of Twitter.
Yeah. See, that doesn't. I mean.
Well, their bots are okay. Your bots are not okay.
Yeah, I guess obviously.
Yeah, no, it's like everything else. Yeah.
Well, right now, like for instance, I had saw in my Facebook feed, right? I'm just pointing this as an example. If this is not Twitter, Facebook feed. I saw somebody share our show, right? I go into my news feed, I hover over it, and then it disappears. It's that's a censorship that's a censorship bot. It's probably a goof between the device that I was using and what's actually going there, which shouldn't have gone out. But that is an algorithm of prioritizing news feeds.
So they remove the post for somebody.
The post is there. I just can't see it. It was there. It was
It's
there,
a
and then
bug.
it was there, and then it disappears. Yeah,
It's a bug.
I see that all
like everything else.
and but as far as Twitter goes, the timing of the updated policy was a little bizarre.
So basically, no
It's a
more
bug.
shameless, anonymous promotion of themselves and their operations. Right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I guess that's.
No more tango downs.
I don't know.
Can't do anything.
I mean, we'll see how this plays out. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a very, very large hacking community on, on Twitter. I
There's
don't.
always like a silent agreement.
Yeah,
with,
yeah, and I don't understand how they're going to incorporate it with losing that community. I understand that we only represent 10% of the community, but maybe even less than that. But still, in the grand theme, in the grand scheme of things, that is still a percentage that you don't want to lose.
Well, hell, they get rid of
Especially-
people that are selling products, and I mean that actually hurt them with their ads and everything. They don't care, as long as they're doing their bias. If it's as long as the bias is getting spread out to where it needs to be, they don't even care if it hurts their bottom line, man.
All they care about is profits.
That's-
All they care about, they don't.
Yeah.
They honestly, I know Jack says, blah blah blah, X, Y, and Z. We are trying to clean up our platform. Blah blah blah. All they care about is dollar signs. That's the only thing that'll ever matter. Maybe at some point, if Jack really wants to clean up his platform, start listening to the DMs. Stop listening to what. Stop listening to what your investors are saying. Start listening to what your customers are saying, and that's always been a good policy with any company. But that just seems to be something that no social media platform has listened to, whether it be Facebook, Google
No.
Plus. That's just something that just doesn't happen.
Every
Yeah.
yeah, every other business, the customer is the priority, and the customer is always right. You serve the customer. Only in social media would somebody call the customers dumb fuckers, or start banning people. I mean, that's
Oh, you think that's bad?
the, the
Facebook.
newest
Go ahead.
the newest lingo. Yeah, the newest lingo now is this. I think it was this Apple guy. They're curated platforms. We're not censoring you. It's not bias. They're curated platforms. That's the new code word for censorship. You're being curated. How does that make you feel better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I don't
It
get
doesn't
is why are
sound
they
so
doing
bad.
it right now? Why are they doing it right now?
Because the midterms are coming up.
Elections, yeah. They're
Elections,
trying to
that's
win
exactly.
elections.
I wouldn't be surprised if Facebook, because I'm barely on Facebook, and anybody who's listening knows that I only keep my account open, or my one account open to stream the show, and as soon as that's not even worth it anymore, it's gone. Like, but I wouldn't be surprised if Facebook has incorporated that policy.
Yeah, well, Facebook went down 3% today again. That's
He-
another 15 billion
here's-
right off the stock market.
And I was talking to you, John, about Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg knows that his Facebook platform is in decline, and I've been saying this about a year ago. If anybody wants to quote me on that, the times are now. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg knows that his platform is in decline, so much so that he's been focusing more on Instagram, and Instagram employees have been
Failing.
they've been getting mad that Mark is getting more involved in Instagram, where he's just slyly just let it you let their guys kind of run the show. But yeah, he knows it's in decline. He knows he knows it's a dying platform, and it has been. And I hate to say this, but Mark Zuckerberg and his ring of decision makers have literally shot themselves in the foot and destroyed their own platform. That's what they
Yeah,
did.
it was really a network in a network, and these people were running their own game there, and now they're like, yeah, they're stepping away from it. Some even left already. Like they resigned. So
Yeah, and anybody who has any people who aren't aware of what Facebook owns, they own. Oh, we lost Terrence. they also own WhatsApp, Oculus.
Pinterest,
Yeah, I didn't know about Pinterest.
for sure. Huh?
They own Instagram, any of the Facebook related apps. They own those.
Upvote.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Thumbs up.
There's probably they bought the thumbs up. They didn't program it. They bought it off of somebody.
But
Yeah,
they still own it. Every time you click it, it sends that data back, and they get paid for it.
yeah. I've noticed it so much more that people are kind of freaking out. Facebook is a bad place if you're a content creator. I know I've been following people that have millions of followers, and they're literally saying that they can't make the money that they used to make off of it, and that it's a dying platform, and that they're seriously thinking about moving elsewhere. And then I told one of them there is nowhere else to go. You're gonna run into the same shit on every platform. The little guy does not have a voice anymore when it comes to social media. That's why I'm kind of waiting for other social media. Gab, when I hear Gab's been a better place to go, but until the mass people come in masses and droves to an equal opportunity platform, then we might see some change. But we just don't see hundreds of millions of users on these third-party apps, social media apps.
no, you're right. I thought VK was promising, by the way, like from
VK
Telegram owners.
Yeah, VK is more promising. It's like the other Facebook, but I have always had problems getting people to the platform, or they're scared because the servers are in Russia, and that it's a Russian based platform, and that honestly, I've gotten away on that platform with more things that I couldn't have gotten away with on other platforms, e.g., pirating media, streaming media, movies. They really don't. They really don't. If they do have a policy, they're not enforcing it. They really don't give a fuck. Could that change? Honestly, at any time, anything can change. But I don't see any real regulation going on there that would deem it otherwise. But like I said, nothing really lasts forever. You can't be number one for fucking like if anybody ever thought, like, if Gary Vaynerchuk, whatever his name is, says that I watch him every once in a while. He's like the social media guru, and I keep on disagreeing with him, saying that he keeps on saying that Facebook is a good platform and it'll bounce back. It's not. It's a dying platform,
No.
and I fucking know it. I've known it for a little over a year. I started noticing it like December of 2016. That's when I knew it was dying. That's when I noticed that the banning and these weird rules started happening. Little did I know that there was Russian bots posting shit. I wasn't really aware of it. I don't know.
Well, what's worse, Russian bots, and there weren't that many on Facebook, or Facebook's banning of their own customers?
Well,
that's far worse than anything the Russians were doing. I mean,
yeah. See, that happened to me on a personal account that I had left open at one point, which I deleted. I had a Facebook developer with some unfinished projects that I had done. There was credit cards affiliated with my account. Even the white hat, Facebook white hat account, which really doesn't. As I thought that might keep my account open longer, if I find a bug or something. But they don't really give a shit. I actually got my own personal fucking Facebook that I never really post anything other than pictures, nothing political, nothing. And they took it down, saying that I had violated their terms and policies. And I'm like, okay. When I gave them my ID and they said I wasn't a real person, and I'm like, okay. And then eventually they gave it back, and then I just deleted it.
Well, it used to be you used to have done something wrong and you got a strike. Now they get rid of people. They haven't even done anything. They don't even know what they did. There's no strikes, no nothing. They just deleted them.
Yeah, I realized the Facebook app is reaching further into the devices that I was using, and maybe most of it's done by algorithm. It's nothing personal, but their algorithms don't work right. About 90% of the time. Right now, I mean, even on the back end of our Facebook page, I'm seeing Facebook tools, and they half-assed did an update on the back end on their end, and it's now Facebook 2 with ... dots, even on extended screen. So, I'm seeing... This is how I know it's in decline. They're...
The coding isn't even correct anymore.
The coding is crap.
The last update on that ABB page was like 49 years ago.
49 years ago, yeah. According to that's some bad SQL there.
Yeah,
it's hard work.
I think MySpace didn't even exist yet.
You know what? You know what's funny is that MySpace still has 50 million users on there. Now, I don't really know what the fuck anybody's really doing on MySpace anymore. I knew it was like a music thing for a while. Now everybody wants to do doing the SoundCloud thing. But there's still 50 million, possibly, that's what they're saying. 50 million people still using that, okay? That's a dead fucking platform. The only reason people didn't move from MySpace because it was a bad platform. People moved from MySpace because they saw something that was better. They had something that had all the bells and whistles, and that was a little bit more organized than MySpace. You gotta admit, like MySpace back in the day was not really that organized.
Hey, but you're calling MySpace dead with 50 million users, but it's still larger than Gap, and it is like 10,000 times bigger than MeWe.
Yeah, and MeWe needs to update its code on the back end. You know, I mean, if you do an inspect element on their homepage, how many lines of code do you see?
Yeah, it's complete crap.
It's completely crap. That's not how you code.
It's so much code on that page that it like literally makes your computer slow.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, I was shocked.
Telnet.
There's a lot of weird bugs in it. Like you can kill any account by just overloading a chat in it and stuff. So it's really weird.
Yeah, and the thing is that MeWe wasn't supposed to go corporate, even though they have paid options. That's not a real way to run a social media site. I'm sorry, the way that Mark did it is fucked up. You know, the way you make it is through ads or whatever the fuck you want to do to the users to make the platform free. I hate to say it, but somebody's got to fucking flip the bill for the fucking servers to stay on. But you know, but there's the way that Facebook did it was very deceptive. You know.
Yeah, but to be honest, the website itself was like amazing. It was just better than other social media. I mean, the looks and how everything worked. But yeah, behind the scenes, yeah, literally recording your private messages, your videos, your pictures, and selling them. Like, how can you be around on a site like that? You can't be there. You just can't do it. You can't have your data sold like that. And they have patents to log into your webcam and to log into your audio and to listen and watch you. And
why? Well, this is what baffles me, and you know, this is why anybody should question that platform. Why should if the algorithm flags you, or if somebody reports you, why should you have to show a government ID proving who you are when you can authenticate yourself 2 or 3 ways? You know, not 2-factor, 3-factor. You know, phone, email. You know, you can. You know, I hate to say this, but Facebook has their own internal random number generator, which is flawed. You know, they can use third-party random number generators that you can get on Google for Google Authenticate. You know, I mean, there are a multitude of ways that you can do to authenticate who you are without using a government ID, and that's how you know that there's government involvement on the back end of this social media elephant. This, you know.
yeah, and before the NSA who are listening think we are like retarded, we actually know that Facebook is actually the LifeLog project of DARPA. We're not actually blind. I mean, the DARPA LifeLog project was killed the day Facebook was born. And it was actually doing the exact same thing as Facebook is doing, collecting updates about the lives of everyone and pictures and identities and everything. And they're doing everything to make their reach as big as possible. I mean, requesting bank information, hospital medical records, and biometric data. They're doing everything they can to collect as many things as possible, every single user. So. Shocked by it. How can people even be there? How can 2 billion people be there right now and not?
Well, they're not like people like you and me. The people that are still on the platform. A lot of the activists have left now. People who want to post cat videos and talk about senseless drama. And you know those people.
Are yeah. There's just armies of those people.
Yeah,
you know
that's a majority of the users are not activists. A majority of the users are point and click. I don't understand, uneducated about what's really going on. And if you were educated and it bothers you, that may honestly that I get hats off to you. But if you're uneducated and you're listening to this, you should rethink. Being on Facebook. Facebook has updated their policy. I haven't tested out personally on my last account, but I heard that they had updated their policy about a week or 2 ago that if you want to delete your Facebook account, you now have to wait 30 days. You cannot permanently delete it in 14 days. They want you to stay on the platform and rethink it as long as possible because they know that every account is another dollar lost. That's it.
Yeah, I know why they're doing it this time. I mean, the Q3, the third quarter numbers have to be released soon, and They want to avoid too many bad accounts in that list. They want to
Do you,
say, no, these people didn't leave yet. They're still here.
$10 says Fate says that Mark Zuckerberg fudges the numbers and gets caught with the SEC and paid for a $20 million fine rather than face the losses.
Well, Zuckerberg, you're gonna have to pay those 1.5 billion to the European community, European Union soon because of that 90 million hacked accounts. So,
Yeah, that was
they were blocking.
Yeah, that was an exploit that was done using the view my profile as though you weren't, as though you were not you.
Yeah.
And the part that baffles me is that they have a white hat community that sends them bugs anytime. The kid that said he was going to hack Mark Zuckerberg, on live on the live stream, which didn't do it. Who also, which honestly, like the kid was also hacking an ATM and was posting himself hacking an ATM and taking money out. You know, that's I'm just saying that the really what, I'm not even gonna go there. Anyway, he was posting bugs to the white hat community and was literally getting no responses. For posting bugs to Facebook. So honestly, I don't think that they care anymore.
I actually know a kid who hacked into the Facebook support system, the system you use to report stuff to.
Yeah.
He hacked into it, and he's now kind of like famous as like a young Apple super tech, and yeah, there are a lot of flaws, and there are 0 days still to Facebook, which are not delivered to Facebook for money. These people actually like the power over Facebook users more than money. So yeah, that is not the system is not safe. Yeah, and but usually with when accounts get hacked with such numbers, they're not going to release the data right away. It's going to last 2-3 years, and then suddenly you will find your private details leaked somewhere. So just don't think you're safe just because your passwords or your private videos are not leaked yet, because they will be. I can guarantee it. Look at the credit card details. They're not going to, like, you steal like a million credit card numbers and the details, and you're not going to use it right away. You're going to wait a year or two.
Yeah, then you wonder why your fucking money's disappearing on your account in some fucking country you've never been in.
Yeah, you can never trace it back to some event anymore. You don't know when it happened. And that's really how it works. And there's no insurance for it either. Like, say, like my credit card was hacked 3 years ago. Yeah, there's no insurance for that stuff. You fucked up.
No, well, over here it's usually you got like a $50 limit for liability if you let them know, in a short period of time. It's like debit cards, you're fully exposed, but like on credit cards, you have a limit there if you use it right.
Okay, well then these credit companies are going to pay big time, because I already know these hackers are going to put everything in crypto and stuff. So it will be untraceable.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I think that even on Changelly, you don't even need a real account. I don't even think you need to set up an account to buy cryptocurrency. All you need is a credit card number.
Yeah, and with the limit and with the amount of information you got access to when you get into Facebook accounts, you're pretty much set. So yeah, you just have to download the data package, right, of an account. You can now download what data Facebook collects about you now.
Yes, that's a new option. Yeah, that's been around when you want to delete your account.
Yeah, so that pretty much gives the hacker access to everything. Yeah.
I don't know. Hands down, Facebook is a dying platform, and I wouldn't be surprised in the next 12 months if something else came along. that was people just flocked to another website. I wouldn't be surprised. There are a lot that are popping up overnight. Kim.com is working on one right now. He knows how to crowdsource and get. He could probably get at least 1 million users in the first day onto a platform. That would definitely be a start in the right direction. I'm seeing another one that's kind of in the works. It hasn't made its way onto all platforms, which is cryptocurrency based, similar to what's that one? It's not like Reddit. It's Steam, similar to Steam, except for it's more Facebook like, and it's backed up by it's got something similar to Steam that's going on in the background.
DTube.
DTube, yeah.
I haven't seen too much from there. I heard of a new one. It's called HugeTube. UGETUBE.
HugeTube.
HugeTube. Yeah, I guess. I haven't seen that one yet.
I mean, literally, like, if you want to just even just rebrand Facebook without all the algorithms and prioritizing algorithms and delete it, and clone it enough to the point where it's not the same code, that would be a benefit. I mean, that'd be something that we could use. But
oh, something will happen. There's a lot of people trying. Like, say, there's all these. They're popping up all over the place. I'm trying them out. Not all of them, but enough of them. Sooner or later, I figure something's going to hit.
yeah, eventually, yeah. Like I've been saying to everybody, that video has to be an incorporation into your social media site. That's just the way that a lot of things are going. I wouldn't be surprised in the next 12 months if we start seeing more Facebook features in Instagram. I.e., it's not just a picture posting place, it will be a text and picture posting place, but
Well, isn't that where all the kids are? They got a young audience over there. That's why he's looking at it as a feature. 'Cause everybody's bailing off of Facebook. He fucked that up. Man. Good job, Mark. Good job.
I wonder what it's like to be around him. Like how much of a control freak he is. He's got to be weird. He's got to be weird to be around.
I wouldn't make it 5 minutes, man. First time he said something stupid. Yeah.
You know what would be great? You'd be great, Preston, if we logged and we changed everything around so everything's monitored and
We just turned their whole office into a monitor station.
Yeah.
Watch their shit and just paste it all over Facebook. It's the ultimate hack.
Oh my god.
What other news was there?
This is up in the news. This is something I've known for a while. This is coming up in the news again. North Korean hackers are accused of stealing not millions, but it was billions from banks going back as 2014. I don't know if anybody is familiar with the Bangladesh bank hack that was done by Lazarus. You ever heard of Lazarus? The Lazarus Group?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Lazarus in the Bible.
Oh my god, am I the only one who knows about this? Okay, this was a sophisticated hack. Also, somebody that would have to know international banks and holidays. It was a hack that was done on the Bangladesh central bank. That they knew that there was an account tied to the federal the Federal Reserve that had, and basically what they did is they 6 months or almost 8 months prior to the actual hack, they had sent out an email to an employee which started the whole the the malicious code to get into their system, which was they were able to control Swift, which is like everything that they use in the back end to authenticate transactions with the banks, and through a complex way of moving money around. First, it went to a branch in New York on a Friday. Then they had 2 days layaway to move around the bank before anybody had known what had happened, right? Some of the stuff kind of gave them away, and they only ended up stealing like 80 million, but the money had been routed to 3 countries before anybody had known, and those countries were having bank holidays. That's why 80 million had actually gone through. But there's been more than a few attempts. More than a few times, North Korea has been accused of being behind this. A nation state accusing of stealing money, and of course, North Korea is stealing money from other countries because they don't have any money. They've been doing it. They've been making money in their country illegitimately for a long time. I don't know. That was just a little history lesson, but yeah, the Bangladesh bank hack was a fairly complex one. What else did I have up here? I guess internet ISPs and telecom industries were starting a lawsuit against California's net neutrality laws. That's something that I saw coming.
Oh yeah, that California actually made the net neutrality law. I was shocked by it when they stood up against the federal government.
Yeah, and now the internet service providers and telecom companies are suing the state of California for doing that.
Isn't that shocking?
Yeah.
Whose side are they on?
Well, I mean, California's been the state that has literally given the middle finger to the federal government. I wouldn't be surprised if. Well, I know the state of California is not going to back down. So.
Well, yeah, the government may be doing that, but the corporations are very much in bed with the government.
Yeah, they might say that, like, if you don't take down this law that you passed or whatever, or veto it, that you're not going to get federal funding for next year for X, Y, and Z. That might happen. We'll see how that plays out. I don't find this surprising. Getting rid of Title II of the internet, is. It only benefits telecom companies from getting more money out of you. Pay-as-you-go internet.
Yeah, that's really what I don't get. People should stand up against all this stuff because you're giving so much power to the internet providers and to the big corporations, big media corporations, and this is really one of the most important things you could do right now for your open internet in the USA.
Yeah, we had a huge social media campaign going on during net neutrality that was going on, but it just seems like it wasn't enough to overrule what Ajit Pai was already going to vote on. And not everybody at the FCC agreed with Ajit Pai. In fact, there were people that were on that vote that voted no on that and didn't agree with what Ajit Pai was doing, who worked for Verizon and is only doing, and he knows that the only person that's going to benefit from this is the telecom companies.
Yeah, and then you see that the actual power of the people doesn't even matter for these corporations. But like with you remember with the ACTA laws, right? With the ACTA laws, then big corporations actually put their websites on black, like Wikipedia and Reddit, and then they actually did listen. back then. Street protests at the same time. So and then it hits them in the pockets because the big corporations of other big corporations actually support free internet actually went black. So yeah,
I don't. I mean, I don't get Ajit Pai. I think he's uninformed and wrong about things. Like, now he's pro 5G network, which a lot of conspiracy theory nuts are saying it's unsafe. I think it is fairly safe. That's another thing that's coming around the bend. You will see fifth generation phones, and what I don't understand is why there isn't a Title II on data packets sent to phones, which is like still which would be under Title II. I don't understand why that doesn't apply to broadband companies. I really don't. Why they should be able to charge for packets and data transfers. But when we start seeing 5G networks, we're literally going to go through that 25 gigs even faster because we're going to have faster access to high definition media, 4K streaming 4K media on phones. I mean, the phones are not up to that. A lot of phones are not up to that standard as far as the general market is concerned. But we will see once the 5G network is here and has been around for a while, we'll start seeing people blow through these their monthly data limit or whatever the fuck they call it, even quicker.
yeah.
I know that's a hard concept to realize, but when you're able to get media at a faster stream, a lot of these websites are going to, especially if you're doing streaming music, streaming media, the quality, the basic quality is going to go up, and the data pack, the amount of data that you're going to need to watch and view these things or listen to these things will get larger as well. I don't know. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. But the big problem in the USA are at this moment are like the cables and the different exchanges around the country, I think. And if you're doing the 5G thing, so you're working with these towers, these phone towers, then it actually connects in a different way, and then it matters like what kind of big uplinks you're buying for like the total amount of users. So you're buying a big uplink, like. You know what I mean? You have like this network of cables right now. You have all these different routers.
The transatlantic cable system. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but more like inside the US, different like between the cities, you have these different routers, and they're working at specific speeds, and they're literally overselling bandwidth right now. Like you have like for example, you have like a 10 gigabit connection, and you're if you're selling like 100 Mbit packages, you can sell like literally 100 of it, and then you're reaching the 10 gigabit. But they're selling like 1,000 of it or 2,000 of it. So because the real traffic done by these people doesn't reach their max connection speed, so they're calculating the total traffic done by all these users, and they're like overselling these connections. But then when there's like a big like a Super Bowl or like Olympic games and everyone is streaming at the same time, then you see Twitter or other social media being filled up with people complaining about their connections. That's what you always see. You look at the Olympic games, like scroll back and you will see all these people complaining. Yeah, it's because the connections are oversold, and yeah, and now they're giving priority bandwidth to like YouTube and stuff. So that will still always work, but yeah, other stuff will be slow. And but now with the 5G thing, they're like replacing these landlines. It's going to be cheaper for them because you just have to install one tower. It needs like a super strong uplink and like some equipment, and then all these users can go there together.
You know what I heard? I keep on hearing from these companies And this is the fucked up part, and I know this is lies coming from the broadband companies, is that they need to install thousands of tiny cells in order to create a 5G cell network. And I'm like, no, you don't. You might.
You're lying.
They're lying. Of course, they're lying, and they're saying that they can't integrate this stuff into their existing systems. And I know that they're lying on that as well.
Of course. They're just making excuses.
Well, because 2G and 3G run off of 4G stuff.
Oh yeah, too. This also runs on this on that stuff for sure. It's just laced equipment will also work with like the earlier versions, of course. Like, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how this plays out. And, I'm pretty sure 5G around the corner when we start seeing the products of it. There's only one phone out right now that is able to do 5G, but I'm pretty sure for the first 6 months of it being commercially available, it's going to be a shit show.
Yeah. I'm not sure if we have like 5G here already. I don't know.
I don't know, possibly. I mean, you have to search your area, but I mean, the big companies here in the North America that are doing it, that are actually laying down the equipment, is the big. Well, I'm not sure about Verizon, but I know that Sprint. The reason between the Sprint and T-Mobile merger was for the integration of building the 5G towers.
Okay. So I'm reading about the Netherlands, and it says it gives an article from 2017, and it says T-Mobile Netherlands activates first antenna with 5G technology.
Yep.
But then I see an article 1 year later, like June 6th of this year, and it says Dutch 5G auction likely to be postponed to 2020. So I'm not sure.
God.
So either there is a T-Mobile tower now working at 5G, or there's going to be an auction in 2020.
Well,
Whatever is true.
2020.
Well, I think they built the equipment, but they might have built the equipment before the market was there. That's what they're doing over here, is they're laying the foundation before the products are coming.
Yeah.
Which essentially makes sense. I mean, that's something you would have to do. I mean, you can't introduce 5G phones if you don't have a network to go with it,
Yeah, apparently another Dutch company is urging the Dutch government to make 3.5 gigahertz spectrum available for 5G testing. Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of the conspiracy nuts say that 5G will burn your face off and it'll cause harm defects and the sky will fall, and I just don't see. I don't see it.
Well, I don't believe that either, but I do think they need to do some good some thorough testing on like how dangerous all of this Yeah, I'm not sure if you call it radiation, but
What is it is electronic. Well, it is. They are using microwave bands, but it's fairly harmless if you're not like 1 foot away from the source,
Yeah, but every time you put it up next to your ear, you're real damn close.
Yeah, but I don't think that the power or the wattage is powerful enough behind it, cause any real damage. But then again, I'm not the expert in all things,
Well, their instructions tell you not to.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. They do it.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
do
you-
it in the Apple phones. Yes, I've looked over.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do talk about warnings about EM radiation. Yeah. God, we're the only ones left on this line right now. I guess we put everybody to sleep.
yeah, where is everyone? Like Terrence dropped out, Micro dropped out.
We ran our guests off.
Oh no, they knew
No,
that they um. Here's a big topic that we can kind of end with. How free speech in the United States is controlled by corporate conglomerates.
Yeah, that's difficult too. I mean, becomes kind of obvious, like whatever narrative they want to push, all these corporate media are pushing together, and we
when you
it's
see
very
100
difficult.
stations pushing out the exact same verbiage,
Yeah, at the same time, social networks are banning dissident speech. And, yeah,
I mean, I have a banned. I mean, I have a banned application. From a media site on my phone before it was banned. That those are just some words I thought I would never say. A banned news site on my phone. Their app on my phone. Like this is something I would never thought I would say because they didn't agree with what the people were saying.
yeah. Well, you're
I
just
know.
not. You have to be a Democrat operative. Then it all makes complete sense. They got to win elections, man. They're not messing around. They're going to do it.
Yeah, we can go into that whole Alex Jones stuff again. Gap apparently is being targeted now. They lost their payment processors. Can't
Really?
accept money anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, they can't accept money anymore because, and they're saying it's because they accepted Alex Jones on their platform. They literally
Yeah.
say that. That's what they state. And,
So they're gonna. Is
Yeah.
Gab gonna kick off Alex Jones?
yeah, they're
If they want to stay alive.
yeah, they can't accept money anymore now because they have. Yeah, it's just incredible. It's just like the fact that this is even happening. Like we have to talk about this stuff
Wait,
happening.
isn't this what cryptocurrency was created for?
Yeah, that's also what I advised them. I messaged one of us messaged them. I mean, I told a guy on Twitter to send this to them to say like, yeah, just accept the major cryptos and have the people who want to pay you exchange it into crypto to pay you, and then you can accept it too. Like there are big crypto exchanges, and then they can use their bank money to buy some bitcoins, and they said just send you the bitcoins.
Here's the deal: is that a lot of companies think it's the end of the world if you can't have a PayPal, Visa, Mastercard, Discover system set up, but there's that's what cryptocurrency was kind of designed for, was a second economy out there, something that you can do in case all that happens. And you know literally, like, if we can, I don't want to say that, but at this point, but that's literally, not the end of the world intimidation if you can, if it, literally that's just giving the man the finger if you can still stay up with after they take your payment processing system and you start using cryptocurrency. It's like giving them the fucking finger, like, fuck you. I'm still here.
Yeah, of course. And why shouldn't you? And if you're like a legitimate activist and you're are a free speech platform, why shouldn't you
Well,
be ready
here's
to
the
be
deal. Here's also another.
sanctioned?
Here's also another thing. I'm not sure why anybody has challenged this, but is Visa, Mastercard, Discover, is it legal for them to bar trade when there are policies that stop stuff from happening, from free enterprises and stuff like that? Do they have the legal right to stop payment processing systems over political ideology? Do they have the legal right to do that? I don't
No.
think that they do. And if anybody challenged this in court, a judge would probably go in the way of the latter.
Well, you would think. Alex Jones is putting a suit in. He's got trying to put a injunction against PayPal.
He's got a legitimate case. You know, if you open yourself, if you open up your services for financial services, and you are barring trade, you have you literally are crossing the line on legality, and that's something that he might be able to fight on every single fucking platform. You know, free speech aside,
Yeah.
there is a money aspect on a lot of the platforms that he's on.
Yep. Well, that's what he's trying. I suspect in the new America, the post-constitutional banana republic, that it'll be okay. Corporations can do whatever they want. You know, it seems to be the new norm. Forget English common law and case law and all that. We're in the new normal now.
This is the new normal where payment processing systems can block you because because your political affiliations or who's on your fucking platform.
Yeah. Well, see, the leftist social media and leftist stone, it'll PayPal or whatever, they can do that. And at the same time, your Republican representatives and so forth are not going to protect you. That's the other thing that's going on. You know, they're just going to stand idly by and watch it as it happens. Watch their base get destroyed. I mean, this is the kind of shit that goes on.
Let's see what Kim.com makes of it now.
Kim is building a cryptocurrency before he's opening up that platform, if I'm correct. You know? Am I wrong about that?
I don't know. He's building multiple things, but he's building an alternative for Twitter right now. But
yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I'm pretty sure, you know, that when Kim opens up that alternative website, you know, there will be at least in the first day or so, there will be an influx of users. I'll guarantee that.
Yeah, and he's got the financial backing to at least start it and to make it big. So. Yeah.
And he's had several successful online projects that he's done. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, literally, he was like sentenced for a mega upload, and then he just starts mega. And it was it's already used like as a file storage again.
I mean, I use it on the daily. I use Mega. Like, you know, it's not. It's a fairly good. You know, even when you don't pay for it, you know, the free version, they give you 50 gigabytes of storage. You know.
Yeah. If he would have started a mega upload today, he would have been like a multi-billionaire with the size it was. Because it had 1 billion users and was growing 50 million users each day. Mega upload. No, that is like, you know that VK guy from Telegram? He's like already a multi-billionaire just from those websites. And yeah, Mega Upload was a lot bigger than that. It was doing 4% of all the internet traffic. So yeah.
Well, a lot of it what got him in trouble was pirated materials. Yeah.
Of course, everyone was streaming illegal movies from that website. It was like the most popular website to like watch illegal movies. Yeah. I was watching movies. I was just clicking a stream. Like the quality was super nice, and it was always fast, and just like one click, and you could watch like the latest movie. Like technically, he wasn't responsible under those laws, but eventually they, of course, changed the laws, and yeah, he decided to be stubborn and stay online, and then you get fucked.
Yeah, how is that going to go for Kim? Like they were talking about extraditing him to the U.S.
Yeah, under copyright law, and it's like he won a couple times and he lost a few times, but then he goes to a higher court and he wins again for some weird reason.
So his legal troubles are out, or is he still fighting? He still has.
No, the last court case he lost, I think, and now he has to go to the highest court, and it will take again years and years. So, yeah. But before if his lawyers think he's going to lose, then probably he will be in another country already.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's got the money to live anywhere in the world. So there are still countries where these copyright laws are not so strict. So, yeah, he'll probably move there. Yeah, safe haven. Maybe he buys an island and declares it independent. I don't know.
You can always go to like Belize or wherever, where it's more lenient.
There are some. I think there are some rules, right? If you want to start your own country, you have to have 20 people living there or something.
You remember that one country that was open that was called Sealand? There was
there was an oil rig.
Yeah, and it was it ended up being it was a central hub point for illegal information on servers.
Yeah, it was just
Sealand. Yeah. Yeah, for real. This place exists. It's just a fucking. It's an oil rig tower. Well, now it's just a tower in the middle of the ocean that was like a hub point for illegal activity on the internet, where you could get away with it because it was its own country. There's no prosecution.
No, exactly. You decide their own law. Yeah. Yeah, technically it's possible, right? I mean, what can they do? They can invade your country, or they can put sanctions.
It has 3 people living on the place.
Yeah. They're putting out economical sanctions against you.
What are you gonna do when there's only 3 people and you literally are making millions of dollars each month because of the laws that don't apply to you?
I remember there was a time you could buy citizenship online of Sealand. They needed citizens, and then you can buy it.
Isn't it Estonia?
No, Sealand. It's just a abandoned platform in the middle of the ocean that was like
an oil rig.
It was a hub for illegal internet stuff. Because it's its own country.
No, that I understand, but I think it's Estonia that allows you to be. They're the first people that have internet citizens.
What?
Oh yeah, I'm not sure that could be possible, but I know Sealand was doing it too.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's Estonia, but they were the first ones to have, like I said, internet citizenship, and I'm not even quite 100% sure what that means. But I remember.
What's this stuff called? This going around Cascadania? Anybody heard of that?
No.
Let me look. I can look it up.
I'm not even saying it right. Hold on. Let me look.
Oh, yeah. I know where the Cascades are, but
no, this is a new thing that's going. I heard about it in a chat room, and somebody had informed me of it. I just wasn't paying attention too well. Let me see. Go back into this chat. Cask. It's in North America. People are trying to establish a new country within America. I think that's what it is. Oh God, where did I put it?
Man, there's actually quite a few people trying to do that now. I mean, between the people in California that want to leave and Texas that want to leave, and then
well, yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty. I think they're doing a pretty good job at breaking up the infrastructure of what it is to be American. They are slowly but surely putting these wide divides, some of them arbitrary, between us. What is it, the confederacy between states?
Oh, here it is. CASCADIA, Cascadia. And they have their own fucking flag.
Mountains.
What?
Maybe. Well, I mean, is it the area that's around the Cascades?
I have
Sounds like the state of Jefferson.
Cascadia,
Yes.
Wikipedia.
Hey,
This is the western region of North America.
That might be the one where they want to like split Washington State.
It's a movement. There are several reasons Cascadia movement aims to like foster a place in the North Pacific Northwest. Uh,
Nah, there's already people
The
on
largest
that one.
city is Seattle.
is that what they're gonna? Is that the capital of Seattle?
Yeah, Seattle is the capital. 16 million people live in Cascadia.
Okay.
I don't understand how this is on Wikipedia. Like, it's not real though. The proposed flag of Cascadia is a blue, white, and green flag with a tree.
Watch it. We're gonna piss off some Cascadian. Now, is that a?
I've never heard about this
Is
until
that a? Is that separate from when when California breaks off, or is this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does California? Are they gonna make a new name for their country? Texas still gonna be Texas, right?
Oh yeah, but like you have that state of Jefferson area there. I guess like Northern California, Southern Oregon. I think that Cascadia is like north of that. You got maybe a little chunk of Northern Oregon and a split of east-west roughly on Washington State.
Okay.
Cascadia is probably going to be on the west coast. I'd say, but
I didn't hear.
hey,
I heard it
whatever.
I heard it in a chat room. I was just like, okay, like I didn't know this was a thing. Like,
Well,
hey, there's white supremacists in Idaho. I mean, they already got their spot there. I mean,
what's the name of that place? Whitefish?
That's in Nebraska, right? With the natives.
No. There's
Well, that's White Clay. Never mind. Yeah.
Oh no, this is. I'm pretty sure it's called Whitefish, and it's supposed to be this like racist town, up in Washington State. And me and my Belgian girlfriend were traveling up there, and I didn't know any of this. There was like all this controversy around this little town, and we went to the town, got a hotel, like did our thing. Everybody was real polite, nice to us, whatever. Didn't even notice. And then like we left and then saw all of the stuff about the area that we were just in, and wow, that was kind of an eye opener. But I will say, for it being like this like whites only like sanctuary and white supremacy, everybody was really polite to us.
They were just sizing you guys up.
But I guess they didn't want a
See
piece,
what- yeah, I mean, y'all were so bad they didn't mess with you.
or they just didn't know how to like. They just looked at us, and it's kind of like when somebody's lost in the wrong neighborhood, where it's like, dude, we can't even rob you. It's obvious you have no idea what's going on here. Like he is completely oblivious that he's in. Can I help you with something, son? Yeah. Can I get a Coke? Okay. Y'all staying around here for long? Yeah. We're just gonna spend the night. We got a nice place up the street. He's just not getting it.
what else do I have? I guess an Iranian man is suing Jeff Sessions over delayed immigration interview. I guess this guy had waited over 800 days for his immigration hearing to be a naturalized citizen. I don't know. Hearing
That sounds about right.
hearing anybody suing Jeff Sessions is newsworthy to me.
Yeah. I don't think that. I mean, to be honest, all of those, like, you're gonna sue Jeff Sessions. Really, you think that's gonna come out to your favor?
I don't think anything will come of it, but
Yeah.
it is kind of
No,
funny.
and and then the other side is I don't think there's a blowtorch big enough you could put on Sessions' ass to get him to do anything.
No, right.
I mean, that guy is a
I think you're at
freaking.
desk. I did have, and I haven't gotten it's an unconfirmed report, right? But somebody that does work very close to to that office area says his office is all packed up. So take that into consideration. I can't, like I said, I can't confirm it, so I'm not, saying it is definite. But for whatever reason,
well, he's been. I mean, Trump's been mocking him for how long? I mean, he's the jester, right? Or the not the jester. He's the castle fool. That you can make fun of. You just point at him and make fun of him.
And he still sits
Call him
there and does
names.
his job and doesn't leave.
Yeah, it's his job is to eat shit and just stay there and collect his check, which he's doing a good job at. He's not doing anything.
no, he hasn't gotten very
check.
accomplished. And to be honest, for their big push on marijuana, it's had the opposite effect.
Yeah, I don't think anything that Jeff Sessions has done since Trump appointed him Attorney General has come into any fruition of any effect. It almost seems as though anything that he does can be laughed at and taken with a grain of salt. Even though what he says, he thinks that it'll become law, or that people will start changing or voting ways or incorporating new laws the way that he wants them to be. But everybody just sits there and laughs at like when he said that we're going after marijuana. Marijuana's legal in 30 states now.
Well, and I think police departments looked at him and are like, "What do you mean? You're going after marijuana? Like who? Who's doing that? I'm not doing that."
Federal law to overstates the local law. That's it. That was his that was his justification. But states have the rights to incorporate their own laws.
But I mean, there comes a certain point when he gets up there and he's all like, "We're gonna stop, cannabis in California." Okay, dude. Yeah.
It's already a multi-billion-dollar industry. How are they going to stop that?
Even that, they don't even have the huge amount of powers that the government's had in the past, and they haven't even been able to touch it. I mean, look, weed is going to be legal in California. There is nothing you can do about it.
Hey, legal, illegal, it's going to be there, man. Let's say, he's a fool.
Oh, he's like mean and spiteful on top of it.
Remember when he said he was going to go after Tor, and that he was going to go after all the cyber criminals, and then nothing happened?
Okay. Yeah, he's an idiot. I mean,
he doesn't even understand how it works.
He doesn't even know what he's talking about.
Yeah, he's like, this is an increasing problem.
We're going to get this encryption. Well, it's just inanimate, standard.
Well,
what are you going to do?
Tor is to be anonymous.
Yeah, good luck.
He's going to slap the cuffs on Tor. God.
Well, I mean, because if there's one thing that Jeff Sessions truly understands, it's advanced encryption techniques.
I think he understands
I can tell. He understands high level Peter puffing, things like that.
I love. He's at he's exactly at the perfect level.
Yeah, industrial bending over. He's good at that one too.
I've always, with a lot of the politicians and corporate elite that are around, I've had trouble finding the right words to describe them and not feel bad about whatever I'm using to describe them. Like if I call you pond scum, I almost feel bad for pond scum. Like I feel like I owe pond scum an apology.
Well, yeah, because pond scum actually has some function in nature.
Yeah.
These pieces of shit are just assholes. I mean, they don't serve any purpose.
I'd say that you were that they were the village idiot, but I feel like I would owe the village idiot an apology. I feel bad comparing you to those people.
He always looks like a little elf to me.
Well, he's like the fourth Keebler elf that they just don't talk about.
Yeah. He's like this one fucked up all the fudge. He ate all the cookies. He's just too fucking fugly to figure it out.
Well, let's be honest. He replaced them all with white chocolate, and that just fucks up a chocolate chip cookie.
He actually does look like the Keebler F, dude.
Yeah.
It's just the angry racist Keebler elf. They're out of business baking cookies. It's
Well, he's like
Snap Crackle
Mitch,
Pop in forced incarceration.
he's like Mitch McConnell. He's got that deer in the headlight look too. It scares you, man. You look at him, and you're like, whoa. It's like that dude's out there. He's
he's
way
like
way
as
out
bad
there.
as Trump. Like
You're
he
like,
really is. He's the stupidest shit.
That's why he's there.
It's like if Trump had like a little elf cousin, that would be him.
He's Trump's mini-me. Like, angry, and if he would just get the tan in the hair, he would be a ringer for a mini-me. I'm sure he bites, too.
Well, he's Trump's punching bag too. I mean, anytime he wants to, feel better, he just can talk some shit about Sessions while he's in the room and just point at him and laugh or something, and it's okay.
That's the thing that
it's his job.
It's me. That's the thing that gets me with these presidential tweets, because he will tweet about people that are literally standing right next to him. And you'd think, like, dude, you couldn't just, like, tell that to my face. You had to tweet it. I'm standing right fucking here.
Well, you just haven't been around enough corporate dicks, because that's actually pretty common.
Oh, speaking of weird things this week, did anybody of you get a presidential alert on your phone with the FEMA alert system?
I did.
Yeah.
I don't do.
Yeah.
The fuck was that about?
Well, I think it's hilarious how people are just okay with the government having access to every single cell phone in the U.S. That's totally normal.
Yeah,
I think that was a control freak thing, among Trump and
a presidential alert. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I think Obama talked about it maybe one time, but I don't think he actually did it.
Well,
I mean, they actually did.
I mean, does this make sense? Does this not make sense to anyone else? As someone that's worked in quite a bit of search and rescue recently, what's the point of giving out a alert system on cell phones, being that cell phones are literally the first communication to go down? Nobody's cell phone works in an emergency. You couldn't pick a worse.
Well, yeah, that's true. When an emergency happens, everybody makes phone calls and the system goes down.
Yeah, well, even if it's in towers and there's a flood, it's over. Same with fire. Same with in an emergency. Cell phones are literally the worst way to get out information.
Yeah, Brady.
Yeah, you're right, and you already see that during on New Year's Eve, right? When it's
yeah,
12 o'clock, everyone is unreachable.
Yeah, Puerto Rico, we were once the towers were down. When the towers don't have power, you don't have cell phone coverage. Half the ones in North Carolina are underwater.
Oh yeah, that too. But also, everyone is calling each other at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, cell phones are the worst way to go. It makes no sense considering the amount. I think it was $105 million, for that text.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I could just imagine Trump like talking to the FEMA guy. He's like, okay, I want you to say this.
Fake news. New York Times is a fraud. It's failing.
Fake news.
It's a witch hunt. It's no collusion. China. Oh. Yeah, but that totally happened. Why don't I have a cell phone? Because in no time the government will be sending you cell phone messages. That is why I don't have a cell phone.
Well, it was a global test of the slave tracking system, is really what it was.
Well, I think more likely, it was. That does not fit. Anybody that works in emergency management would tell you cell phones are not the way to go. That's why you don't see, unless it's a sat phone, you're screwed. Whatever that was, an emergency test, that's silly.
Yeah.
That they out and tell you that the hurricane that they've been warning about for a week and a half is coming? It makes no sense. Or, sending out an alert for an earthquake is pretty stupid, being that, the earthquake has already happened. I guess maybe tsunamis?
Yeah.
And we have an early warning system, even though a lot of countries don't.
Hey guys, we got less than 5 minutes left.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it was a nice show tonight with the whole reality winner thing and some
Oh
other
yeah,
interesting.
I am so happy we got that on. I mean, to the statement, I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna cut that, and put just the statement up. I mean, that was absolutely beautiful. I hope that we can, maybe when she gets out, and we will be like extremely careful that it has nothing to do with the case or nothing to do with any of that, but just, her story, what her as a person, feels and thinks, and have like zero connection to any of that stuff. I think that might be kind of cool.
Yeah, we should note that this show is absolutely zero political opinion. It's just whatever person goes on this show has his own political opinion and stuff. We really like about freedom of speech and especially helping out whistleblowers and people in jail for the wrong reasons. So yeah.
Yeah, anytime they start saying media blackout, or you start seeing those things that the media is deliberately not talking about, like those are the first things we're talking about.
Yeah, of
If,
course.
if they don't want to get the word out, those are the things we need to be talking about.
Yeah, I think so too. I think and you all did great, and I loved having the guest on too, and I'm sure she will return. I mean, she already said it, and I just spoke to her, and she really enjoyed being on. So, yeah.
No, I kind of welcome the ability to be able to be that platform for people. Like it's so badly needed in the world, and I think people are looking out, or are looking for it. People want the truth at the end of the day. People don't like being lied to.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too is the length of time is one thing, but no interruptions. I don't know how many people have said they get tired of going on these other shows where they get interrupted after 5 minutes, and then they got 15 segment, and then they got to go. I mean, you can't get on a good train of thought, when you're constantly getting interrupted with shit like that.
We don't do the advertising game, or
Yeah.
No, all this
just
comes out of our own pocket. Everything.
Yeah, I just like I couldn't imagine us having someone pull our strings like that.
No, and we'll get there in the end. I mean, we're getting more and more subscribers to stuff, and without money, it takes some time, but we'll get there. That's no problem.
Yeah, and I think even though it is a little bit harder, I think for us, like we're making a point, like the money in our world is corrupted everything it touches. I don't want to have nothing to do with that.
Well, you don't need to, I mean, you look at like what a lot of these people, they just go out with a camera. I mean, you can get more news out of them than you're ever going to see on TV.
Oh yeah, there's more truth in somebody's live stream. And look, the big news companies, they're not even making up their own news. They're just, putting what somebody else has live streamed or has on their phone. If it's a police, brutality.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Oh, they're covering somebody else's stuff. Yeah, I guess we're closing down. Big thanks to all of our viewers and the people that have been supporting us. Like, thank you so much. We can't do any of it without you. Like, this is what it's about. Is getting you guys' voice out. We're just kind of the mouthpiece, right? We just happen to be standing in the middle.
Yeah, and we got I think we got an episode upcoming about the Yemen subject, so stay tuned.
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Lots of good information on that.
All right, and with that, we'll roll out. We'll be back Thursday. Hopefully with some guests from Yemen. And with that, we'll roll out.
Dun, dun, dun,
Dun.
Yeah.
I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly.